Hello, my darlings, and welcome to the first episode of Tea Time, a Bridgerton Recap Podcast, hosted by myself and my lovely co-host Jordan D. I'm LeighErin. And what we're going to do here, first off, happy Valentine's Day. Hope you're having a great time. I hope you're off with your loved ones, and if you're not, sit and talk about Bridgerton with us.
I hope you're watching this on the 15th. I hope you got laid last night.
So yeah, what this podcast is going to be is leading up to the premiere of season 2 of Bridgerton. I'm rewatching Bridgerton, and Jordan is watching it for the first time. And we're going to basically do 4 episodes, breaking down 2 episodes each. So this episode, of course, will be episode 1 and 2 along. And while we do it, we will be drinking
actual tea. What type of tea are you drinking?
I have a very strong Earl Grey with a little bit of milk because the bergamot can be low.
I had milk. I put some milk in my tea yesterday. It's something I do rare, but I like it when I do. So I'm just drinking regular black tea right now, decaf, because it's like 8 p.m., almost 9 where I am. And I've been avoiding showing the mug just because I can't remember if my mom got this from my dad or my dad got this from my mom. But instead of the mug saying, "I'm so lucky to have you," it says, "You're so lucky to have me."
Shut up, that's so funny.
My parents do that to each other all the time. I once got my dad a novelty mug because my dad owned a business for most of my life that just said the word "I'm the boss" in like big letters. And I handed it to him on Christmas morning, and my mom looks at me and goes, "You can drink that at the store, but not here."
Here I am the boss, and this is not a debate.
My mom also loves her novelty mugs. She has one that the doctor gave her when she was pregnant with me because I was the firstborn.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, save that comment because you might not agree. It's like 10 big reasons to be pregnant. And it's like big appetite, big love, big bundle of joy. And then one of the things is big boobs. And my mom will point at that and giggle at it anytime she's showing that mug to someone.
That's like, so for like a year, my parents were long distance while my mom was finishing her master's and my dad was doing his master's in Westchester. Mm-hmm. And so he would send her care packages, which is like cute. Like you do that when you're in a long distance relationship. But he got her a mug that it's gray and it's got a little picture of a bed that's all fucked up and a window. And underneath it says, "Whoever says mornings are best has never spent the night with you." I did not understand what that meant until I was like 17 years old. And I remember looking at it and being like, what the fuck does this even mean? And my mom was like, "LeighErin." Like, come on.
Oh, God.
But yeah, so Bridgerton. I love Bridgerton. I watched it not right when it came out, but I moved out here to California in late 2020, and late 2020, early 2021 was a really rough time for the pandemic out here in California. Numbers were crazy high, and it was like 1 in 4 people had COVID. So I had nothing to do, and one weekend I was very just kind of down and wanted something fun and had heard really great things about Bridgerton, watched the entire thing in 2 days, and then read all 8 books in 2 weeks.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not then also go and start to read the other books from the same universe about the other families?
I have now read every book Julia Quinn has ever written except for one, and that's because it's one of her very early ones, and I can't get through her early one. She just kind of hadn't found her tone yet, and I did not enjoy it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so, and Jordan, I basically browbeat.
You basically bullied me into watching this, but also full disclaimer, I'm watching the episodes as we record these, so I've not yet seen all 8 episodes. I've still only seen the first 2, which are what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, so like in this episode, we're not going to be referencing anything that happens past episode 2, Shock and Delight. We will just be talking about the first episode, which I don't remember what it's called. It's called Whatever the Queen Calls Daphne.
I thought it said like something about the water.
Diamond of the First Water is what it's called, yes.
Yeah.
We'll only be talking about episode 1, Diamond of the First Water, and episode 2, Shock and Delight. So episode 1, unless you have anything else like housekeeping you want to follow up with.
I don't think we have any housekeeping. I mean, we're recording this way ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And so I truly do not know what we have planned from the future.
Neither do I.
Yeah. I might be dead by the time this airs.
Oh my God, Jordan. Why would you say that?
I don't know.
All right. Yeah, if you're listening to this and you don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't, but Bridgerton is a show based on some novels written by Julia Quinn. She wrote 8 novels about the 8 Bridgerton children. The first novel and the first season of the show focuses on the eldest daughter, Daphne, getting married in 1813. And one of the places that Jordan that differs from the book is in the book. Daphne is so desperate to find a husband that season because it's her second season out, and she was called a Diamond of the First Water in her first season, and like everybody still considers her really pretty, but that like kind of intimidates men around her. Plus, sweet Anthony, my sweet boy.
Who hasn't been intimidated by a pretty woman? I mean,
Yeah,
you've been to a bar with me.
fine. Oh, you know. Oh, buddy.
It's okay.
So we opened with the Bridgertons, you know, they're all getting ready to go to Daphne's debut. The debut was when the girl entering society would dress up in a very pretty white dress, and she would be presented by either both of her parents, just her father, or if the father had passed on, it would go to the oldest brother. And there would be the woman that was their sponsor for their season, which in most cases was a woman's mother. If a girl's mother had passed away, it would be an aunt, anything like that, or just a very close family female friend who's in society.
So that's something that slightly confused me. I assumed that like the father would be involved in the whole like, yes, this is how many cows would you like to offer me for her type thing. But when they all walk in with the queen, to the queen, the males are not there. They're to the sidelines.
Yes, so the man would have to be there. So in this situation, I'm just going to use your eldest sister.
Yes. Okay. So let's get that part of the podcast out right now too. I am the oldest boy of 3 sisters, and LeighErin likes to joke that if my family existed in this time period, that my mom would fucking dominate. I'm also first generation Arab American, and so
am I wrong?
I'm not disagreeing. The other thing is I'm first generation Arab American, and a lot of our traditions have not evolved all that much from this. Like, I remember when you first watched the show, you would call me and be like, isn't that wild? And I'd be like, nah, happened at my church like 3 weeks ago. Not to like the same level. Like, I don't want to also talk down and make people assume that my culture or anything is super backwards. Just so that it's much, much more traditional. So we are going to constantly refer to as if my family was in this universe.
We're also going to do it with mine. It's just less realistic with mine. But I think if my dad and my mother were the same type, generally speaking, of people that they are now, I can guess how they would handle situations. You've met my dad. You can guess just who he is fundamentally as a person, how he would handle certain situations.
Yeah, your parents are a lot more like, you do you, kiddo. Like, it's fine.
My dad would straight up be like, no, you're not marrying the weird rat man. Like, that's not happening.
Rat
Man. We'll talk about Ratman later, but yes, if it was your oldest sister, your father would go and present her because he's the head of the household of Deeb, but your mother would be her sponsor, so she'd be presented by your mother, because your mother is basically saying to the queen and to all of society, hey, I know that she's been raised well, is a gentle-bred, that was the phrase, gentle-bred woman, and that she will be a good
So not like a sourdough.
No.
They're very rough on the outside. Sourdough's got a thick crust.
Yeah, it's a gentle-bred, B-R-E-D, not A-D, woman. And it's basically being like, either I raised her well, or I know she was raised well. I'm putting my reputation on the line by saying that she is good enough to marry your sons. Also, something I want to put out right now as a disclaimer. We are out of the times of I paid the father for the daughter, and we are into that women of the upper class of the ton, which refers to some French thing. Don't ask me what the ton is. It's some French word that I can't pronounce. It just meant the upper class.
Gotcha.
Women had dowries that got paid to their husbands by their fathers or eldest brothers for basically that man to be able to keep the girl in the way of life that she is accustomed to.
Here's the thing.
In theory.
I honest to God, cannot tell which one is more sexist. The one of the man going to the father as though he's the owner of the daughter and being like, I will give you this much for this piece of property, which is really just another human being.
I will buy this piece of property from you.
Or the dad going, I will give you $3,000 to get her the fuck out of my house.
Exactly. And there were definitely fathers like, I will pay you $3,000 just to take her.
Just to get her out of here. Like, but I can't tell which one is worse.
No, I don't. I truly don't know. I don't know which I'd be, especially because they were supposed to use that money to keep you safe and like to keep you in the way of living that you.
Yeah, but nobody was doing fucking forensic accounting back then.
Exactly. Like he could just be taking that money and be like, there were things called fortune hunters who would just go and like charm girls with big dowries so that they could keep gambling and drinking and doing all the shit they wanted to do.
Hey, I've listened to Kanye West's Gold Digger. I know what this is.
Yeah, okay. That works. But yeah, so what are your feelings? Tell me. We open with this moment with the queen, all these women and we see them getting ready and fucking scene with the corset.
Yeah, okay. So I didn't know who were the Bridgertons and who weren't the Bridgertons yet. And oh man, the poor girl just getting the corset.
That's the Featheringtons. That's the
oldest Featherington. That's what I know that now.
Featherington.
The Featheringtons are quite a bunch. I'll say that much now.
Just wait.
And I'm probably going to make references like this a lot, so why stop? Why delay it? It was really weird, like the way she's like bent over the chair, and they're just pulling at it, and I'm like, this is. And I know you have a comment about the way they frame or block something later. It's just like weirdly sexual with the way she's bent over the chair, and they're like pulling them corsets up,
yanking it, and
it's
but
like
that was a thing.
Yeah, no,
that was a thing they did, and like as somebody who's had to wear a corset before, it is the worst.
And then the mom goes, "I was able to squeeze into the size of an orange," and I'm like, "Ma'am,
an orange and a half," and I'm like, that's like that big.
Smaller, because you have to keep in mind back then they didn't have like genetically modified oranges.
Yeah, like, bitch, your waist was not that small.
No.
Also, because we're bringing up Lady Featherington, I don't mean to objectify the actress who played her. I am aware that they used a lot of chicken cutlets and push-up bras to give her that look. That was the point. She's supposed to
They used chicken cutlets?
That. Sorry, that's what the... So chicken cutlets are like...
You're not talking about like actual raw chicken.
No,
okay.
It's a silicone like thing that instead of... It's not a boob job, but you take like a silicone thing and you put it in your bra under your actual breast, and it pushes up your breast while keeping the shape relatively natural.
It's like a push-up, but like two separate pieces.
Yeah, two separate things that you put in a bra you already have, and it looks a little more natural. Push-up bras can give you uniboob sometimes, and so the cutlet keeps them separated and more naturally shaped.
It still gives you the divot.
But her titties are so big.
Yeah, that woman goes from sternum to breast.
Literally, it's like sternum, boob, waist. Like,
yeah, no.
Damn, girl.
And we'll just say from now, anything we say about the way these people look or are dressed is we are making a note of the character, not the actors or actresses. We are not shaming anyone. We are more laughing at the ridiculousness of the time period.
And just Mrs. Featherington as a person. Like, yes, no.
I'm sure the actress is lovely. I'm sure the actor who plays Ratman, fantastic.
I'm sure he's a lovely
guy. So I Googled him.
Stand him.
Apparently on Twitter, he was making jokes, just going along with people saying like, yeah, no, my character fucking sucks.
Yeah, he sucks.
And like the one time he found somebody that liked his character, he said, you need to go to the hospital.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. I love the Bridgerton boys, though. In this whole opening scene of everybody getting ready, I just love the boys. Like, the part where they're like, where's Daphne? And, Eloise is like, oh, she's still getting ready. Like, whatever. She's been getting ready all night. Benedict goes, I'll go and get her. And Colin just decides to start an argument about who Daphne likes better. Like, for no purpose. It's just like, I'll go get her. She likes me better. And it's like, what? Why does that matter?
You guys are siblings. You all hate each other equally.
Yeah, that. And then, so I had said to you, well before you watched the show, that I was very excited for you to meet Anthony, because I felt like you would have a connection with Anthony. And he just has the most stunning introduction of a television show,
Yeah.
which is just straight up man ass as he has
Bangs
sex
a woman
with
against a tree.
Sienna against a tree.
The poor horse and carriage driver. That's just
His groom, yeah, who's just like
waiting. Like, dude doesn't even get a book.
no, he's just gonna stand there.
Yeah, and I
then,
texted.
like, isn't the ride back awkward?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, and like,
I'm
do you
gonna
know
take
him
you to
well
your
enough?
mother now.
Do you know him well enough to like mention it, or is it more awkward to mention it so you just act like it didn't just happen?
Yeah, because like you're a groom or a footman, so you're not really in the house that much. So it's not like a butler where like you have that rapport
You have a
with them
relationship
for so long from when they were kids. Like you're just like somebody who takes care of the carriage and the horse. It'd be like your mechanic having to just stand there and wait while you fuck a girl against.
And like, what's the protocol from his end? Does he like have to offer him water, maybe ice for the balls?
Yeah, like what are we doing? Also, why are we doing this in like I get that he's like I have to leave and then immediately go to meet Daphne. But why are you guys doing this in a park? You pay for Sienna to have an apartment. Like, I feel like it's so that you're not having a quickie against a tree. You can have a quickie in a bed.
I mean, unless that's what they're into, you know.
I feel like you still would get arrested for having sex in public.
Was that a thing back then?
It would be a scandal. It would be because it's Anthony, because he's a Viscount. It'd be a scandal.
That's
like,
fair. But yeah, I weirdly related to the guy having to secretly glance at his watch during sex to make sure he wasn't late to a family function.
I have never really related to a line in a show more than when Sienna says to him later on when they've just had sex in her dressing room, is like, I'm going to take that watch and take it apart bit by bit, because he just stares at it all the time. And it's like, what are you, could you stop? Like, look at me. I love Violet Bridgerton more than life itself. Your mother and Violet Bridgerton would vibe.
Probably.
10 out of 10 would vibe.
Not only would they vibe, they would be like, you have sons, I have daughters.
You have 3 sons, minus the little one. You have 3 sons, I have 3 daughters.
And I have a son you have enough daughters that my son's going to be the correct age for one of them.
You have 3 daughters that are of the appropriate age for my son. Like, you know. Violet also has no chill. But so do 99% of the characters on the show don't have any chill.
No, I saw no chill. I think this time period was pre-chill.
Was pre-chill. I tweeted that I thought Anthony needed a Xanax the size of a potato, and I stand by that. I stand by that Anthony needs a Xanny the size of a potato.
Yeah, Anthony's. We'll get into that as we discuss it, because there's a lot to be said there.
Yes, and I want to start with now. We've met Anthony. We've met all the Bridgertons. We're in the Queen's parlor. We have Queen Charlotte with all her Pomeranians, which was very funny to me. And that is my worst nightmare. Having to walk in a big dress with my mother holding my arm up to someone who I see as a position of authority over me, for them just to scrutinize me while I'm surrounded by other people who are only there to make fun of me. I hate that.
Yeah, no.
And then if the Queen came down, if I'm curtsying and the Queen hasn't said anything and the Queen saying something is my sign that I can get up, and then all of a sudden I hear her footsteps, I would be panicking. I would just break out in a cold sweat and be like, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? And like,
just curtsy lower.
Literally. And then she grabs Daphne's chin and lifts it up. In that moment, I would lose it. I would just start dying laughing because like, I hate that kind of stuff.
It was so weirdly sexual. Like,
and then she calls her extraordinary, and like that's awesome, but I would be terrified.
Yeah, but like the whole lifting somebody's head up by the chin is just like part of me was like, what if like the actress like out of force of habit just looked up and went, "Yes, Daddy."
I don't know why that would be a force of habit for her, but
you don't know what she gets into.
I mean, she dated Pete Davidson.
Good for him, her. I don't know who I'm happier for.
Yeah, they met after she came on SNL.
That man is just
Yeah, he was with her before Kim Kardashian.
good. I'm so happy for him. I mean, he's also technically referenced in the show because they do a violin cover of Thank You Next. Can we get Pete Davidson in like a cameo? Can he just be like somebody's driver?
I would love that, honestly.
And like no accent.
No, no, just Pete Davidson. God. Oh, Lord. Also, Prudence fainting and nobody having any pity for her is so sad.
People don't even have pity. They're like, ooh, that's going to fuck her up, isn't it?
Yikes. All right. Lady Danbury and the Duke. First off, I have said this in everything I have ever talked about Bridgerton to anyone ever. Rajan Page is a stunning man. He is beautiful. To quote Jordan, he texted me last night while watching the episode and went, what did you say? This chocolate man is exquisite? What did you say?
Something along those lines. I want you to read it.
Let me find it. I should have pulled up these texts beforehand because I knew I was going to reference it.
I just read another one of my messages that's making me laugh.
Okay, yeah. So before the Duke,
we could just talk about how much of a bamf Lady Danbury is while you find the texts.
Oh, I love Lady Danbury. I found the text, but where I was going to go with this is that... Hold on. Is that, you were saying that, like... Oh my god, Scared Potter, you wish,
Yeah, the whole lifting the chin thing had that level of sexual energy of Scared Potter, you wish.
Oh, so then we meet the Featheringtons, and we found out that the Featheringtons are going to be taking in the daughter of a friend of Lord Featherington. And
I thought it was the daughter of a distant cousin.
A distant cousin, a friend, distant cousin. I don't... Because
what's funny is, and I'm not going to put anyone's business out there, I have had distant family members come to stay with us for periods of time because they're like, Jordan's dad's a good role model.
Yeah.
That's happened in my family like once or twice.
That's kind of like... In this is what I was talking about, where her mother is deceased. She doesn't have anybody to...
But is she of high society? They say she lived on a farm.
I don't really know. Well, I mean, I do, but you'll find out in a little while.
Gotcha.
More is revealed about Lord Featherington, and that makes you go, whoa.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Lord Featherington's a wild guy.
Good for him.
And would you like to, so Marina, the Featherington cousin, walks in her gown. The entire lead up to this
is
Lady Featherington has just been like, yeah, she's so poor. The poor are its charity. Like,
yeah, the last sentence she says is, well, one, they expect her. They're like, there's no way they go, let's hope she's prettier than the farm animals she's worked with.
Yes, first off.
Which is like...
this girl grew up on a farm, she cannot be as beautiful as my daughters. Which, whoa.
Whoa.
Hey, whoa.
Then the last sentence they say before she walks in is, be charitable, the poor are our burden.
Our burden.
Which sounds like a shirt I'd find at the Republican National Convention.
Oh my god, I know. But they would mean it in a slightly different way, not in like the rich white woman way of we must help them because the poor is our burden. They mean it in like a bad way.
No, they are truly a burden.
And then Marina walks in. She looks stunning. She's in a beautiful gown. And Jordan sent me the best text message I have ever received.
She walks in, and Lady Featherington's face is like, what? And then, like any true millennial, all I could think of is SpongeBob, because I heard in my head Lady Featherington go, as Squidward would, oh no, she's hot. You know, in that episode with the band? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
It literally, though, is. Like, she literally, and like, what's wild is she's like, immediately hates this girl.
Her face drops.
19.
Yeah.
You are a grown-ass woman, and you immediately hate this woman.
You hate her just because you know she's gonna get more dick than your daughters, which is a weird reason to hate someone.
So then, Lady Whistledown is revealed. We are introduced to the society papers. which the first round of society papers is given for free. And the big reason, I don't know if you picked up on this because they're not very clear about it. They're more clear in the books. The reason Lady Whistledown is such a big deal is because there were always, like, tabloids have always existed. And there used to be society papers, but it would be like, if it was a scandal about you, Jordan, it would be Lord J did this and this with Lady whatever in the garden, and it was awful. And Lady Whistledown's like, nah, fuck that.
Full names.
Full names.
First and last.
I love it. It's so savage. First and last. Full names and title. Like, and it's such a savage move.
IP like, address, father's name, mother's maiden name.
I love it so much. And how they show it is so
now
funny.
Lady Whistledown's also
stage voice.
Yes,
sorry.
One we could get back to them and say Lady Whistledown is supposed to also be the narrator, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Julie Andrews narrates as Lady Whistledown.
Oh, that's Julie Andrews.
Yeah, did you not realize that?
No, it's lovely.
Andrews. Yes, that is Julie Andrews during the narration, which is part of the reason that I was interested in watching it. Just listening to her like narrate is very funny. And then, so how we're introduced to this is there are just a bunch of little newsboys running around to just anybody who's remotely dressed up on the street and giving them this paper and being like, bye!
Which, honestly, if I wasn't high society, that's the job I want. Truly a servant of the chaos.
Truly. Yeah, like, I think if a woman came up to you and was like, hey, I'll give you a nickel if you go deliver these papers, because a nickel was, like, a huge deal back then. Well, it wouldn't have been a nickel because we're in England, but you get my point.
Yeah.
And, it's just all bananas to me.
Like, I could feed my family for a week just by handing this shit out.
And then, like, it's so clever because she gets them hooked and then starts charging them, and that's a smart businesswoman.
Or man.
Lady Whistledown is an entrepreneur.
Or man. We don't know yet. Because they're like, because obviously Lady Whistledown's a pseudonym.
Somebody in society.
Yes. And then at the end, they show her, like, writing, and they're like, oh, it's gloves. Like, maybe, so that, like, to me, I was like, oh, so it confirms that it is a woman. And I was like, wait. What if it's like in Drake and Josh, like the pilot episode, where Josh has to dress up like a woman in order to write the things that he's writing?
That's a whole other level. I know who Lady Whistledown is.
I'm so excited to find out. I am so excited to find out. Because every time I think I know who it is, I'm like, but it doesn't make sense. Because here's the thing. Game recognized game. She talks shit about everyone.
And talk shit across the board openly about everyone, and I love it.
She's not like, people tried to think that she was favoring one family over the no
talking. I think that she favors the Bridgertons, but she says mean shit about the Bridgertons. So then we are introduced to Anthony's mistress officially, Sienna, who is an opera singer. He goes to see her in the theater, and they fuck in the dressing room, and it's really weird. It's always
more
very
like the undressing room.
Yeah, and it's always very aggressive. Like, there's not a need to throw Anthony into the wall so hard things fall off your wall.
They do be fucking like, this is our only chance. Like, you're going off to war tomorrow and there's people outside the door. Like, she was just at practice. Truly, there's nobody around for a 5-mile radius.
Yeah, like, why are you worried about this? And nobody's looking for Anthony here. You're down in the theater district with all the prostitutes and the opera singers that fuck high society men. No one is looking for Anthony down there. So, like, why are we acting like this is the last time you will see each other? Also, he pays for your apartment. Why are we acting like this is the last time you'll see each other? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And she immediately, and what it breaks my heart when she starts talking about his sister. And he's like, I have to go,
And protect her.
Protect my sister. And she starts asking about her sister and what the fall would be like, and it breaks my heart.
No, I'm sorry. Don't do that. Don't ask me about my sisters after we just had sex.
Yeah, but she's not trying, like...
No, people have never done it with weird intention, but, like, it's weird. Like, do you think this is the moment where I want to start thinking about family?
But also, like, I feel like they very clearly have more of a relationship than just, like, oh, we meet up to fuck. Like, he's her rent, like, and all that kind of stuff, and very clearly cares about her, and he very clearly cares about her, and she cares about him. He's just like, I can't marry you, so, like, Suck it up. Also, the first time I watched this and on the rewatch, the moment he went, "You will always have me to protect you," I went, "Do not say that. Do not say that to never, ever make promises like that to anyone, ever. Unless you mean it. Unless you are ready to get proposed the next day, don't say that." Like, also, because it's just gonna suck when you break up.
Am I the only one who found it weird when she would call him my lord?
I think she's being an ass. I think there are two ways that can be used.
No. The first
Personally, if I was a woman,
the first time she did it, she was very clearly being sarcastic because she said "my lord" and rolled her eyes. Then the other time, like 30 minutes later into this episode, where he breaks up with her, she's like, "But my lord," and I'm like, "This is weird. Like, does he make you call you that in bed?"
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like there are two ways that gets used, and one is when you want to be an asshole and you want to be like, I'm gonna fucking twist the needle here, or sexy.
My lord.
Yeah, like it's like a in bed thing, like, you know.
Which is weird. I don't know.
He's something. He's something. So we go to the first ball. This is the very first event. Or no, we get introduced to the Duke, which Jordan wrote. "This chocolate man is exquisite," and he is. He's stunning.
He is both chocolate and exquisite.
Yeah, I watched this show. This is my third time rewatching it because I watched the first 5 episodes with a friend to try and get them to watch it. And they were like, "Oh, of course he's fucking hot." And I would wait until he opens his mouth. Wait until you hear him speak. He is so attractive. It's not fair. Like, he's so
Imagine
sexy.
if they couldn't find somebody that had both. So it was just like you found this, you know, it's this man. And then he opens his mouth and it's just very, very clearly being dubbed by Morgan Freeman. Not even like Idris Elba, who's like a younger, sexier voice, but it's like, no, we're going to go with the classic.
Yeah. We're gonna go with Mr. Morgan Freeman. And I literally wrote, I've seen this show how many times, and I literally wrote, "The Duke is so hot, it's dumb." Like, it's kind of not fair. He's just so good looking.
It just, like, I feel like, and I'm gonna preface this with, like, I'm straight. Like, I feel like you get dumber talking to him. You're like, like, you start to
literally,
giggle.
I feel my IQ, like, I don't know. I have never been struck dumb by how attractive someone is until I saw that man.
Oh, I mean, I have, but, like, I have a low bar.
He's so good looking.
He is, though. He's very handsome.
He knocked Bill Hader on my list down a little bit. It's Oscar Isaac, Regine Page, and then Bill Hader.
Aw,
3
Bill.
Very different people.
Truly.
Like, completely 3 points of a triangle.
I ain't got no type.
Away from each other. I truly don't. And then he goes and he meets Lady Danbury. We find that he is a very I'm getting a little scandalous here with my sleeves falling down.
Who is going to ask you now? Oh my God, you have not deformed.
Shoulders,
what's it called? You have ruined yourself.
Ruined myself. Yes.
Yeah, you've ruined yourself because of the shoulders. How dare you?
I would not have enjoyed living in this time period just because Empire waists do not work for me. All my dresses would have to be tailor-made.
I honestly feel
hard when you got big boobs.
I truly feel like that's why everybody in this era just always had to stick up their ass because like nobody ever got comfortable. You know, sweatpants weren't invented till like the 40s.
Until you were married, because then when you were married, you could walk around like in your PJs. But even then,
like the PJs were probably made out of like something scratchy, and
cotton, and in the winter like wool. These really will not stay up on my shoulders. There we go. But yeah, and then we meet Lady Danbury. Lady Danbury is my favorite character in this entire show.
She has an attitude, and like. There's somebody I know in my like a family friend of mine that like me and my mom say the same thing where it's like old people always have that thing about like they don't want to be old. So like my grandma hates having to use her cane. She thinks it like demeans her, that it means like she's getting old. But there's somebody else we know. Lady Danbury's the same way. They have a cane, but if anything, it makes them more powerful. The way they utilize it is like god damn.
The way she sets it in front of her and like poses, it's like she starts out great and just continues to get better.
And there's like the facial expressions too. She's got like the facial expression. I'm like, I like you.
And like when she walks up to the boys at the party that night, at the ball
And they
that
all
night,
try. Why?
and they're like, on guard, on guard, on
Why?
guard, and are getting ready. Because she's gonna bug them about when they're gonna get married, or she's going to bug them
But
about
I feel like
something they're doing that they're not supposed to be
feel like
doing.
the second you turn around, like, listen, I got over being asked when I'm going to get married when I was like 15. Like, I was over it by then because people have been saying it to me since I could crawl.
God. Somebody's telling me they want you to be a child bride.
No, but I'll explain that in a second. Just put a pin in that. But like,
I'll explain why I'm not a child bride in a second.
what I mean is, like, the second you realize they see you, if you turn around, I feel they'll be like, that was fucking rude. And like, was that not a scandal? Like the way like you would respect others?
It's not a scandal because they're men, but like any other woman would have like just let them run. But Lady Danbury's like, too late. I already saw you. Like,
it's like, good for her.
I have looked in your eyes, Benedict Bridgerton. Where the fuck you think you're going? Like,
Yeah.
And then when she's like, Daphne, you look beautiful. Like, why haven't I seen you out on the dance floor? And then she just looks at the three older brothers, Anthony, Benedict, and Colin, and is like, oh, you poor child.
Yeah.
Like, you poor sweet girl.
You have three people
Also,
trying to guard you.
I know. Although Colin and Benedict don't really care all that much. Colin and Benedict are just gonna like.
Colin's working on his own side project, and Benedict is truly just in another world.
That's the other thing that I love about this scene is Anthony and Daphne are talking, and Daphne goes, you keep saying we. Why are you saying we will marry someone? We will find you. Like, why is it we? As they're trying to have this.
You speak in French, motherfucker?
Colin just bursts in and goes, have you spoken to Mother about my trip to Greece? And it's like, no, why would I have? Like,
listen, you only have one other sibling. So if you're having a conversation with a sibling, that's all you. Somebody who's one of four, that is a thing. Where like you're talking,
hello?
and then the other sibling comes in, and you're like, 1, why are you here? 2, why is this the topic? 3, leave.
Yeah, 1, where did you come from? Like, where did you appear from? 2, cool? Like, awesome? I don't know what you want me to...
We weren't talking about Greece before this, but sure, yeah, no, now we can talk about it.
Sure, we can talk about this now, I guess. All right, let's go. And then, so we have the ball. We have Nigel, who comes up and says he's been in love with Daphne since she was 5, which is all sorts of bonkers. And
because he says, what was considered schoolboy back then? Because he goes, I have been
any time he was at Eton, so that would have been 13 to 18.
So that's what threw me off. Because originally he went,
or like 10 to 18.
yeah, because he
like
said something about like I've been infatuated with you since I was a schoolboy. She goes, and I was 5. But my first instinct was like, okay, because when I hear schoolboy, I am truly imagining an 8-year-old.
No. This is like when they would start Eton, which was sometime, because Gregory in this book is 8, and he's not at Eton yet. I think it was somewhere between like 10 and 12 that you started Eton.
That's gross, and it feels very weird to point at a child and call them a pedophile.
Yeah, but it's also like, why?
Why are you 12 and lusting over the 5-year-old? Like, if you're 8, if you're 7, it's fine.
And like, he's so creepy. And my favorite thing that I love to do when I make people watch a show, whenever they text me or make a comment about Nigel, I'm like, he looks like Peter Pettigrew.
He
and
does.
I can't unsee
Which
it.
also took me on a whole separate tangent last night.
I know. Jordan got mad about Harry Potter for like no fun reason.
Like, okay, like quick pause on the Bridgerton, but listen, we're still talking about British people, so I feel like we're not that off topic. James, just classically hot, head to toe. Serious.
Please explain to me why I just drank this like a shot. Did you watch what
I did, and then I saw you gag, and I was like, is it something I said? Because I haven't gotten to the weird part yet.
I started giggling because I did it and swallowed it like a shot. I was like, I didn't need to drink it like that.
It's fine.
Anyways, continue.
Like, James, classic, clean cut, short black hair, chiseled jaw, hot, exquisite. Sirius got the long hair, hates his family, you know.
Sirius
Everyone
is
else
right.
was in Slytherin, so it's like, oh, he's risky. His family's kind of evil. Like, bad boy hot.
He's a bad boy because he doesn't fit in with his family, but he's in the house that automatically makes him a good person.
It's weird.
So it's a safe bad boy.
He is a rebel because he's a good person, which, again, we're not going to get too far into it. But
which
still.
is the best type of rebel.
Yeah, but like we got the rebellious, we got the classic bad boy, we got the rebellious hot boy. We got the classic hot boy. Then we have Lupin, who's like...
Classic rich hot boy.
Yes. Then we got Lupin, who's like... hipster hot. Like, hipster hot, has his head in a book, you know. Like, probably lost his virginity to last, but, like, you know he be doing it good.
And I love Lupin. I have a crush on
Yeah.
Lupin.
And, like, I mean, listen. Like, we'll acknowledge the elephant in the room. Like, Andrew Garfield, basically. Boom. He looks like that.
He was such a fan cast.
That's why I'm saying it. That's exactly why I'm saying it.
James or Lupin was always who he was fan cast on.
No, I've only ever seen him as Lupin. And then we have the human rat hybrid dude, which, again, is also what we have in this show, the human rat man.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like... I kind of see why he ended up betraying them. You were the ugly one of the squad.
Yeah, but still, like, come on. Come on.
But yes, no, Nigel looks like Peter Pettigrew. Yet somehow makes me feel more uncomfortable.
I know, it's, like, almost worse.
It's like Peter Pettigrew was like... I feel like he just needed a shower, you know? He kind of had, like, Post Malone syndrome.
Yeah, but Nigel, like, is creepy.
Yes,
and again, I'm not saying that the actor is creepy. It's
No,
not
actor...
from
From the one article I read, actor seems cool as fuck.
Yeah.
But,
and
like...
I hope that we continue to see him in later seasons, because Nigel is around in the other books, and eventually gets married and all this stuff, and I hope he stays just because I enjoy the actor.
But it's like, if you were like, hey, you gotta be stuck in a room with Peter Pettigrew and Nigel... I'd be like, yeah, the evil wizard. Because, like, sure, he may kill me, but, like, this one dude might diddle me. And, like, I don't want that.
He's also very easy to manipulate. Peter Pettigrew is really easy to manipulate.
I feel like if I gave him a hug, he'd be like, I am yours.
Exactly.
In a servant way, not like a sexual way.
No, I got what you mean. And then... So, we're at the ball. He comes up to her, and Daphne is like, hey, baby, let's go, let's bone, let's get married. And it's like, no. So Daphne runs off and goes crashing into the hero.
What the fuck was the small talk about the cup size? And I mean,
I have no idea.
I'm hoping if you're listening to this, you've seen the fucking show. But I'm talking literal liquid holding cups.
An actual glass.
I don't mean jockstrap. I don't mean bras. Like, that was his. Like, listen. Again, you've been to a bar with me. Even I could fucking flirt better than that. You're talking about the glass?
I've been dating since I was 15 years old. I've heard some stupendously bad pickup lines. I have heard some horrendously bad pickup lines or like conversation starters. That has to be the worst.
Dude, just if anything, be like, oh, weird party, right? Or look at this decor. Anything.
Or just say hi.
That too. I mean,
what a novel concept. Like, just say hello.
Never gone out of style. They've been saying it for centuries.
Yeah, like they're, especially at the balls are so structured. And that as you go in, the girl picks up her dance card, it gets tied to her wrist with the little fucking pencil. Guys sign it for one
That's
dance
weird.
Oh, did you not realize this?
I did, because they said something about a punch or, and I'm like, that's...
I only have one dance left on my card. Yeah, there were usually about 5 dances. And men would come up and there was a little, like if it was me, this little thing would be like a little ribbon tied to my wrist with a card and a pencil attached. And if like you wanted to dance with me because we were friends, you would come up.
I would dance with you 4 times in a night just to save you from anyone else.
Oh, I know, I wish. See, this is where you can tell that this was made to benefit men. And here's why. Because you couldn't dance with a man more than twice in one night. It was a scandal too, which keeps you from being able to be like, hey, I don't want to fuck you, but I don't want to deal with any of the other men here.
Now,
so you're just going to be right here.
Did family members count as an exception? Like if I danced with a cousin 3 times in a night because she had no one else to go with?
It's still.
I mean, I guess back then people married their cousins, but
Well, that had kind of gone out of style, but like I was saying to you the other night, it was kind of like, so say your eldest sister was out and you're both at this ball, and she's either shy and doesn't really want to go mingle and talk to men about her watercolors or how good she is on the pianoforte. You would dance with her, and then you would go off and get like one of your guy friends and be like, yo, can you just dance? Or one of your cousins would then dance with her, and then he would go get one of his guy friends to dance with her, and you would do it out of respect for your relationship with that other guy. And that would keep. But then there were also something called wallflowers, where they were girls that just like didn't get asked and didn't really have anybody looking out for them.
Oh my god, is that where the term wallflower comes from? Because you'd be at the wall waiting for a dance?
Mm-hmm. You'd be over with the spinsters and the chaperones on the wall because nobody had asked you to dance and you weren't allowed to ask men. It's super sad.
Oh.
It's so sad. It's like so depressing.
There was no perks in that. Boom, look at that reference.
Hey. I stuck my tongue out.
I hate us.
What's happening to me? Also, so Daphne goes running away from Nigel, goes careening into the Duke. I love the Duke's ego that he just assumes
she knows who she
about
is,
not knowing who he is, and it's like, fuck off, my man.
So that's the other thing. Like, I want to point out now that's interesting. Is like they have this initial disdain for each other in the very beginning, and then when they're at dinner, but the story is not quite an enemies to lover trope.
No, it's more.
Well, like it's definitely
about,
not
like,
friends
we're
to
pretend
lover.
that we're dating.
Yeah.
We're pretend we're dating. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, it's very much a like.
We're gonna do this as a
to be in a relationship and we fell in love.
Oh my god! Like 2009's The Proposal, starring Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, which honestly, great rom-com. I will not hear any objections to that.
R.I.P. Betty White. But so the Duke and Daphne, the Duke is just being an asshole to Daphne, which is wild. Like, he's just being a twat. And then the excitement when Anthony sees Simon is so funny. Where he's just like, Bassett, Bridgerton! And they like run at each other, and it's like, whoa.
Men truly never grow up.
No. And then they're having a conversation in the middle of it. Anthony's like, yo, sorry to hear about your dad. Oh, that means I shouldn't call you Bassett anymore. I should call you Hastings. And it's like,
I like
those should have been separate thoughts.
I like the level of rapport they have.
I know. It's so funny. And then...
But also it's like, he hated his dad. I feel like he's not offended at the fact that those were two separate thoughts.
Yeah.
Or that those were not two separate thoughts.
Yeah. So they all separate, they go home. The next morning, they are all excited. Daphne wakes up early. She's all excited to receive her gentleman callers for the morning. And no one shows up. And the few who do, Anthony just stares at aggressively.
The whole Violet my seat thing.
Yes, I believe there is a problem. That's my seat. And it's like, get the fuck out of here.
Although, that is a very funny thing that, like, I've been to homes that, like, I've visited multiple times, and everybody knows, like, that is the head of the household seat. Mm-hmm. How my family has that. It's like an unspoken thing.
But, like, if a guest sat in your father's chair, would your father just stand there and stare at him?
No, but to be fair, this isn't a guest. This is somebody who wants to bang my sister/daughter.
Still,
depending on who I am, not that they're both the same person.
Yes, Jordan, we assumed that it would. God, what is wrong with you? I also like Violet pulls so many faces in this scene. The actress who plays Violet has great mother faces. Like the look she gives Benedict early on when she's like, "Where is your older brother?" And he's like, "I don't know," and she like predator scans him.
Something tells me she's a mother in real life.
Yeah.
She also looks like someone, but I can't pinpoint who.
So pretty.
And the thing is, she might look like someone I know in real life. So like, don't try to tell me who you think she looks like as an actress, because it might genuinely be somebody I know.
But what I enjoy in this scene is she gives Anthony a look that very clearly says, I would murder you without hesitation for getting in Daphne's way right now.
So I want to talk about that aspect for a quick second, because as I've told you, or as I said earlier in this, is like a lot of the traditions they do here are not all that different from stuff my family does. And being a man in these types of...
As a man...
No. I am not about to say that men have it harder, but just hear me out. The slight curse of like knowing all the other men in your community, whether that is a church community, a immigrant community, a mixture of both, or just high society, is knowing all the dirt. Because he's going around, he's like, that one might be a bastard, that one does this.
Okay. And that's the thing, is I get being like, I don't want my sister to marry a fortune hunter, or I don't want my sister to marry a drunk or a gambler. But like, not all, it doesn't, they don't have to be saints. Like, they don't have to be perfect.
Well, it goes back to that thing where it's like, and I felt this when he, was it the second episode or the end of this episode where the mom's yelling at him in the study.
That's in this episode, because that's when he goes and breaks up with Sienna.
Yeah.
Because that's his takeaway from that conversation, but we'll get there.
His mom goes, I know you're banging her.
And
listen, I am 100% the type that if my family finds out, if my family goes, we know who your side bitch is, my first instinct is going, time to get a new side bitch.
Yeah, but still, like...
But anyway, it's very funny where it's like, sometimes when I'm looking at, you know, people, I'm like, oh, I might be interested in them. I have this, I'm not going to call it a fear, but it's like, let's be honest, LeighErin, let's just call a spade a spade. Do you think I'm ever going to bring a girl home and 4 separate women are going to agree on their opinion of her?
No.
Yeah, that's just, I don't mean to cast stereotypes, but like, let's be honest here, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's funny because in my head, I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I know who I want, what I want, yet I cannot please everyone. But then from my perspective, it is no, but nobody's good enough for them. Mm-hmm. You know, like from my perspective, I'm thinking about a family member or a close friend where I'm like, or a hypothetical daughter. Like, it's like, oh yeah, no, nobody's good enough for them. And I feel like everybody has that except about themselves, which is very funny. But yes, then you do also know all the dirt about the other men in your community. And you've said something to me when you're reading the books, which is very true, which is the men are supposed to fuck, like, okay, fine. The men are going to fuck around and know about each other fucking around, fine. But you don't fuck around with the other girls in the community.
Yeah, you don't fuck around with the high society girls and ruin their reputation. You fuck around with girls that have no reputation. Or like widows.
And for the record, I'm not saying people I am friends with do that, but my culture still puts like a weird emphasis on like being a virgin till marriage and like that shit. And if I found out...
That's the thing that has always been bonkers to me, is this is a society that does not believe in sex before marriage, but it is expected that the man has had sex before marriage. Even though he's not supposed to, he has. And you're supposed to, as a woman, supposed to just trust that he's not going to hurt you. And you find out what sex is the night before your wedding.
That one still bothers me and boggles my mind.
You find out what sex is the night before your wedding? Yeah.
Just because I truly don't know how that, like, I don't know. But, like, yeah, like, and I'm not going to ever shame anyone for doing what they do, but, like, if I did find out that somebody that, you know, to the parents in my community was all, oh, I'm lovey-dovey, I'm Mr. Perfect, you know? But then is not only screwing around with maybe people he went to school with or people he met online or at bars, but, like, somebody actively that we know. It's like, that to me is a new level of fucked up because you know you're safe if you guys get caught. You know that. Yeah. You know that nothing's going to happen to you, but you're ruining her reputation. And I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with this point of view, but I also have to acknowledge, that this is a point of view that is going to happen. I'm more facing the reality of it.
Yeah, and like you were asking me last night, like, what is a rake? And I was like, it's basically a fuckboy that like fucks around with widows.
Yes, and I feel like we used to have rake and hoe, and hoe is the only one that stuck around. We had the gardening tools.
I also do enjoy in the scene when they're all in the living room waiting for Daphne's callers, and Nigel is the only one who shows up, and Violet's like, all right, everybody, we gotta leave so Daphne can like have some. Well, we have to go to the other side of the room because we can't leave her alone with the suitor, but like we want to give them like some private time while I'm over there.
And
it's
Eloise
like when
is
you
like,
date in middle school and like you go to Applebee's with your date and your parents are sitting like at the bar,
yeah,
you know.
or like 3 rows behind you at the movie theater.
And Eloise tries so hard to help Daphne out.
She's
and
like leaning into her sister.
I have never, the way Daphne grabs Eloise and pulls her closer when Nigel walks in and holds her hand, my sister and I have done that to each other. I felt that on such a level, and I've been Eloise before where I'm like, I think I'd rather stay.
Eloise is, we haven't acknowledged her yet, but Eloise so far, my favorite character.
She's great. Eloise is so much
She
fun.
is basically Kate Bishop, but in ye old times.
In ye old times. And like, I appreciate the Bridgerton siblings are a squad. Like, the Bridgerton family is a squad. They got each other,
yeah.
and I respect it. And that I just also love Violet going, I think you'd rather go. It's like,
she's like, okay, don't you want to go across the street and talk to Penny?
Don't you want to go talk to Penelope? And
Penelope,
like,
yeah.
All right.
But yeah, no, I've actually... My mom is the oldest of her family, so like when I was growing up, all my uncles and my mom's sister, because she only has one, all got married, and there was actually a time where somebody that was interested in my aunt in a very respectful way wanted to meet her, so they met at my house, because like my mom was already married, had kids, my dad was there, so like they would talk, but again, yes, she was not alone with a man. Problem is, you've seen my old house, not the, very, very average house, raised ranch, 1 bathroom in the hallway, living room not that far away. I was like 9, and like I walked out of the bathroom in a towel, and they're like, "Hi, this guy might be your new uncle." And I'm like, "Hi." And I'm just like slowly.
Hi, this is not how I wanted to meet you. Bye.
No, she ended up not marrying him though, so that's cool.
Go. I also, so now we cut to the Featherington home where all of these callers have come from Marina, and Mrs. Featherington looks like she's going to pop. And then I'm going to offer a piece of advice to all the men out there listening. Never write poetry for your girlfriend or wife unless she explicitly asks for it.
Or unless you're like a fucking writer by career.
Yes, unless that is what you do. Like, that is like...
But was that expected? Or was it expected that you had to do something and that was one of the common options?
Yes, it was expected that you had to do something. You either had to bring flowers or like something, and guys would always try to outdo each other because there would be situations where you were calling... So say you were calling on, we're going to make an Eliza, and Eliza's going to be our fictitious woman that you're courting for this. No, because you weren't supposed to be thick back then. You're supposed to be thin.
Like good thick.
Okay, get out of here. So Eliza is going to be, this is what we're going to do. Eliza and,
You need a guy or a girl?
Eliza and Hugh are going to be our fictitious. Hugh is the fictitious man for me. Eliza is the fictitious woman for Jordan. Just to make these hypotheticals a little bit easier.
Are we gonna keep these names for the whole series?
Yes, I just made a note of them so we can keep them for the whole series.
Perfect.
So you are interested in Eliza,
the thick one.
She is a respectable woman that you would, it's a good marriage, it's a good match. So you go to her home, you dance with her at a ball, you go to her home the next day to call on her. There is a possibility that if there were other guys interested in Eliza, there are 5 other men in this sitting room.
So I can't bring just a bouquet. I have to bring like the whole damn garden. Because anybody...
You want to try and show up who's going to be there. And then you're there, and some guys have brought flowers. You were texting me because one guy brings Marina a puppy. Just brings a living dog. Which,
listen, ignoring the outdoing each other thing, don't gift people pets. Like, I'm gonna sound like a parent talking to a stepchild right now, but like, pets are a big responsibility.
They are a living, breathing thing. Do not gift
them. If I want to have to be in charge of a life, I need more than 10 minutes notice.
Exactly. Especially because it's not like a hunting dog.
Yeah.
I've read things before where there was a thing that you would gift the father a hunting dog if they were really into hunting.
Yeah, but then the help takes care of that.
Exactly. They have a hound master who takes care of all their pups.
Houndmaster sounds like the world's worst superhero.
What was his powers There's even it's Spider-Man but dog, so like he can run really.
Like was bit by a radioactive dog.
He was bit by Clifford the Big Red Dog,
Oh,
and now
God.
he's hound-messed.
I think that would just be Brian from Family Guy. Like this weird, like you're kind of technically both.
Yeah, like Spider-Ham,
Yes.
Houndmaster, like Spider-Ham.
But like I don't know, bring a ficus, you know? Those don't.
No, I know.
They don't need to be walked or cleaned.
Oh my god, I know. It's crazy. So then
But yes, I would
We
go to
get-
Eliza.
yes, you would go to Eliza and you have to find out some other way to show them up, but I feel like it also sets the guys up for failure because like I know that there are people, time notwithstanding, who would not be able to keep their shit together if they were in a room where a man gets down on his knees and starts reciting a sonnet that he wrote for this chick.
I guarantee you, this is how I would have ended up meeting my future wife. I would have went somewhere where the girl has the attitude of like, I hate all of this. I go with like an average gift. I see the dude performing a sonnet. I laugh. Everybody stares daggers at me except for her. She's also laughing. Boom.
Pure. So then we cut to
But you know, I think the exact message I texted you was, also, did that dude just perform a monologue for what was her name?
Marina.
For Marina's love. This is what zero pussy does to a motherfucker.
It's wild. It's bananas. Like, it's so fucking weird that they would, like, write these poems. Or they would, like, steal poems and pass them off as their own, which is the other thing.
I would
think is really
legitimately rather just have an arranged marriage at that point. I am not putting on a show in hopes of maybe getting the proposal.
I'm not putting on a show. And so then we're at the opera watching Anthony's fuck buddy sing.
Which is always
Yeah.
a terrifying thing.
Yeah, and everybody's Lady Whistledown's been talking some shit about Daphne and that like nobody wants her because Anthony's scaring everyone away. And so the queen like slights Daphne at the opera and then walks off. So Lady Danbury, to undo it, because Lady Danbury doesn't really like the queen, she invites Violet and Daphne to sit in
Her
her
box.
box at the opera.
Her box.
Daphne's just chilling, enjoying the opera. You're disgusting.
Thank you. Also, before we continue this and ignoring my
Yes.
dumb 10-year-old comment, they so casually talk about the fact that the king is on his last leg.
Well, yeah, because that's the Regency era. That was the point. Do you know why it's called the Regency era?
Why?
So there was a king regent who was acting in place of the king at the time because King George, they think he might have been bipolar. It might have been from syphilis. They're not really sure, but he started losing his mind to the point that like he couldn't be ruler safely anymore. And so the prince, I don't remember the prince's name, but he was ruling in King George's place.
Was his
at the
name not
time.
Regent?
No, the king regent is a position. It's where it's like
Oh,
when
like
Biden
acting,
signs
like
over-
acting president. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why it's called the Regency era because it was the period of time for like I think like 10 years right after Napoleon and all that stuff where the prince was actually making decisions, and they were just waiting for King George to die. That's why later on, because he's become so unhinged, and that's why later on, Eloise is like, oh, did King George do something to the queen? Is because like and they show more of it later on, but like he was straight up losing his mind, and that is historically
That's
accurate.
the thing is, I didn't get the vibe that he was going crazy. They were just like, oh no, like that's a dude who probably should have died a while ago. Like from a physicality perspective.
You'll see when they introduce you to the king. You'll see. So Daphne's just sitting watching the opera, having a great time, and it's the plotting going on behind her for me. Violet and Lady Danbury sitting there, not paying attention to what the fuck is going on stage, just plotting. And Violet is so proud of herself because, like, ooh, I've heard the Duke loves gooseberry pie. That just happens to be my chef's specialty.
And they're looking at each other like, let's get our kids laid.
And then the fact that Lady Danbury, Simon says at dinner that Lady Danbury accepted the invitation for him. Like,
No.
he didn't even get asked.
Listen, I could 100% realistically imagine a situation where I come home one day and my mom's going, you're going to dinner with these people. And I'm like, oh, like we all are. She's like, no. You, singular, are going to dinner with these people. I'm just like,
okay.
Cool.
Also, the faces at that dinner is when they're having that whole conversation about who Lady Whistledown could be, and Eloise is like, oh, of course, because a writer like that could only be a man, because Colin and Benedict keep saying that they think it's a man. The faces Benedict makes in the background are so funny. Like, in the back, after Eloise says that, he just goes,
it's
to her
truly sibling thing.
And it's just in the background while the other people are talking. And I'm like, not Luke Newton, that's not who plays Benedict. The guy who plays Benedict, it's just so funny to me. And he's just having a great time in the background.
Yeah. He was
so,
like, I don't get a line till like the tail end of the second episode. I'm gonna have a ball for like these.
I'm gonna be fucking annoyed.
And I know they don't film in order, but still.
Yeah. And then we get this scene in the study, which is always like such quintessential Anthony for me, that he like kind of implies to his mother that he knew his father better than Violet knew him, and Violet's like, listen, bitch, like, let me teach you something here for a second, and just like,
I don't know how to say this to the listeners bluntly, or not bluntly, so I'll be blunt. You don't know any of your parents better than the other parents because they have been inside one another, or had the other one inside them. Oh my god! I'm just saying, I feel like...
That's not where I thought this was going!
I just feel like once you have kids with someone, there's no universe where that kid knows them better than you.
Well, there's also, like I'll use my family, for example. My parents didn't have... My mom was 32 when she had me, and 27 when she had my sister, and her and my dad started dating when she was in college.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a whole chunk of time where they existed with each other in a relationship before you were even on the planet. Like,
and truly, it is like for your parents specifically.
What father would have done, and it's like,
no, you aren't.
Are you though?
Because you have one perception of him too. Because as a kid, you're inherently going to think that like everything seems so much bigger and stricter than it was probably.
Yeah, and Anthony very clearly is somebody who his father has passed, and
yeah, they mention it, but like, did they say how long ago it was? Because
they do in the books, and it's going to be a lot in the second season.
They said something in the second episode where Eloise...
Hyacinth wasn't born yet, so Hyacinth is like 7. That's the youngest.
Well, yeah, because of that in the end of the second episode, when Eloise is talking to Daphne, she says something about like you try to like do something so I wouldn't hear mom screaming, and she would have passed mere months after dad, and it was clearly the mom was giving birth, and I wasn't sure which kid she was giving birth to.
That's Hyacinth. She was pregnant with Hyacinth when Edmund Bridgerton died.
So like 8 years ago?
Yeah, about like 8 years ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because Hyacinth's like 8, George is like, I can look up the timeline, but yeah, I can just pull up the family tree, and while I do this, I'll talk about something else. But yeah, and what it was is, this isn't really a spoiler, because it's like, it's a known thing to Bridgerton, and it'll be in the second season, and I think they say it later on. He died of a bee sting. Like, he had an allergy to bees, but like, this was a time where that wasn't really something that was known, and even if it was, I don't know what they could have done for that. Like, I don't know what...
I feel like by the time you could diagnose it, it's too late.
Yeah, and so he gets stung by a bee and dies in front of like 3 of the kids.
Oh no, he got my girl.
Oh my god, Jordan! What is wrong with you?
I watched that movie when I was 7, okay? That shit fucked me up. I can make a reference to it now.
I've seen that movie, and I just like, now I know pretty much the entire plot, so I really have no
LeighErin, I truly don't think you do. There are scenes in that movie that I've looked back at as an adult and went, oh.
Okay, so where's fucking...
Like, she learns about puberty in that movie.
Edmund died in 1803.
So 10 years ago, because this is 1813.
Yeah, it's been 10 years. And Anthony, when he died, was like...
What's he now? He's like in his mid-20s, I assume, right?
Yeah, he died in 1803. Anthony was born in 1784, so 1803 he would have been...
Okay, if somebody was born in 1983,
19?
how old were they in 2004?
I can't do that math. I'm just going to do it on a calculator.
21.
I'm too dumb. Yeah, because Anthony was older.
Because 83, 93, 03.
It was 19.
19.
I just did the math. Yeah,
Yeah.
1803 minus 1784 when Anthony was born would be 19.
Yeah, because 94. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then from there, Benedict was 17, Colin was 14, Daphne was 13, Eloise was 11, Francesca was 10, Gregory was 2, and Hyacinth hadn't been born yet. Yeah. Um, God. Also, really quick, because we haven't talked about it, and it is something that bugs me. It's in the first thing with Lady Whistledown. Naming your kids in alphabetical order is weird to me. I get that you two thought it was cute and you two thought it was orderly, and so that's fine, but don't expect everybody else to think it's cute and orderly. It's a little weird.
My family, people don't like my family's naming system either. I feel like just you do
I
you.
like your family's naming system better than being like A, B, C, D, E, F,
Yeah.
G, H.
It's just that, okay, so for those who don't know, and I've made a thing to like not say my sister's name on this podcast because like I don't need to do that. But like all of their names start with an N. And my parents' original thing were like, we'll make all the boys J's and all the girls N's. And then they had one,
only one boy.
and then they had only one boy. So it's like I'm the one that looks like I stick out like a sore thumb.
If they had like 6 kids and it was your 3 sisters and then you, Justin, Jacob, and Jordan, it'd be a little, not that your parents would have named the other children.
It probably would have
Justin
been
and
like
Jacob.
Jonathan and maybe Jacob. Jacob's realistic.
Yeah.
Justin,
like
no.
Jonathan.
Justin's a
If
white
it
boy.
was sister 1, sister 2, sister 3, Jordan, Jacob, Jonathan, like, I'd be like, all right, come on. But and then what's bonkers to me is basically in that conversation with Anthony, Violet's like, you need to step up. You need to be doing more. If you want to be Lord Bridgerton and be a big boy, like, you need to step up. And Anthony's takeaway from that is, I must break off my affair completely and just throw this girl out. And she's got to figure something out to provide for herself. And my sister's going to marry Ratman.
And of all the people, like, I know they say it later. She's like, why Nigel? And he goes, I looked into him. It's like he had the.
He's interested in you, and I looked into him, and it's like.
He's like, I looked into him, and he had like the least bad background check.
Yeah.
And like, here's the
Anthony
thing.
has no brain. It's fine.
You also
you
also know it's bad when even the mom is like grossed out.
Yeah.
Because like if it's just the daughter grossed out, you're kind of like maybe you don't think you're ready for marriage, and the whole thing is scary.
And that's why I don't like later on. We'll get to it, but later on, Nigel's like, maybe she'll learn to return my affections. And I'm like, just imagine your first experience being on your wedding night and that man just on top of you, like just like, I hate it.
He looks sweaty before the sex even starts.
I know. He just looks moist. Like there are people that look moist.
He's just wet.
It's true. There are people that look moist, and like it just kind of freaks me out.
Kind of like he reminds me like he's just gross. Kind of like Lupert from iCarly. Mm-hmm. Like you're always just sweaty.
Lupert from iCarly also just like looks moist.
Well, that was the thing. Yeah, I think he was just always like wet.
Yeah, and I just don't like it.
Like. If I found out if me and you were both like society people, and I found out you'd marry Nigel, I would take the L and be like, no, it's okay.
No. Literally, if I had a brother in this situation, I have a brother, and he's like, I'm gonna make her marry this guy, even though Hugh is very clearly interested in her. I feel like you would be like, no, if you don't want her marrying Hugh, do not do that to her. Like, I'll do it. I will figure it out.
We will take the L.
We will have a marriage blanc, and it'll be fine.
What's a marriage blanc?
It's a white marriage. It was a term for when men who, it's kind of like if you married Eliza. No. If I married Hugh, and Hugh died, and I already had a kid, his brother, just to like kind of keep things legitimate and honorable, would offer to marry me. We may have a marriage blanc where like I don't want to sleep with him and he doesn't want to sleep with me, and we already have an heir, so there's really no
Would you be expected to actually sleep with them, or was it more of a respectable he's going to take care of you now type of marriage?
It's like a take care of you thing, and like you guys could fall in love, but like it's more like a just I want to take care of you.
Yeah.
That would be my duty as a man, is to take care of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, really, so now we find out the whole deal with Marina, or at least the beginning of the whole deal with Marina. And I have to say, this maid deserves an award. The maid that puts the pieces together, that Marina arrived a month ago, and her sheets still have not had blood on them, showing that she's gotten her period. And then doing all the little math to, like, figure out that, like, she should have gotten her period. She's been here long enough that she should have, should have gotten her period by now. And then going to Lady Featherington and being like, no, bitch. Like, it's just so funny.
Who's paying attention to that?
It's wild. It's wild. Like, if I was a maid, I wouldn't fucking know.
I feel like that, this is going to be weird. I feel like that was part of their job.
I'm so freaked out by blood. Like, if I was a maid, I'd be like, I hope my mistress gets pregnant. I don't want to fucking deal with it. I don't want to deal with her bloody sheets. That noise.
Yeah. But that's also why in that morning she wakes up, looks at the sheets, and goes, no!
That's why she's like ripping through her sheets and like screaming, is because like, which also
part of me thinks like that was the first one she missed, but it's also then implied that she was sent away because she got pregnant.
You'll see. Just wait with Marina. Just wait. All will become clear soon. But it's just it's wild to me. Like but also like, that's gotta be awful as a girl. Pregnancy scares are terrible, and like doing the math of like maybe I missed my period is awful, but it being like you waking up one morning and realizing you haven't bled all over your sheets in a couple of months and being like, fuck, seems so much worse.
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know, like, aren't sometimes people just like 2 weeks late for no reason?
Yeah, that's the other thing on like why a lot of that logic about like periods wasn't great, because like it doesn't really like, it
could be 8 weeks sometimes, it could be 3 weeks another time, like fucking
exactly. And even like, if you are pregnant, you could bleed later on, and then because you miss, you know, like there's just a lot there that I feel like
ultrasounds helped out a lot.
Yeah. And home pregnancy tests.
Yeah, but like part of me is also like, listen, you don't want them to know, you don't want them to think that you are like, you know, a whore, as they would say.
Yes.
You're a woman in like the 1800s. You had like 4 hobbies, one of which was sewing. Take a fucking pin. I don't know. Poke your ankle or something. Bleed.
Rub Jordan. Do you know how much blood you bleed when you have a period?
But okay. But like between the fabrics that you're already wearing, how much is going to end up on the sheets?
Well, when you're in bed, all you're wearing is like a cotton nightgown. You have to remember, women didn't really wear underwear men didn't really either. Underwear wasn't really a thing. And the underwear that was a Cleo, why?
Yeah, that's the other thing that's always annoying to think about when you're watching these periods. Like, everyone back then fucking smelled. There was no indoor plumbing.
Well, upper class people, sorry, Cleo spilled something. I'm going to keep talking about upper class people. They had, like perfume, really strong perfume.
Yeah. But like, that doesn't kill the smell. That just covers it up. Now you're just smelling perfume and fish and shit.
Well, the perfume, that's why perfume has alcohol in it, is it kills bacteria on your skin so you didn't smell as much. Okay. So then, we're getting into the end of this episode. We are at Vauxhall, which is a real place. It's a big garden place where they set off fireworks and all that kind of shit. Nigel approaches Daphne again because somebody cannot take a hint.
Rats never do.
Rats never take a hint. And at one point, Ratman is like, do you think you're better than me? And I'm like, yeah, I do. A, because you're a baron and I'm a viscount. So I'm the daughter of a viscount. So all of society automatically thinks I'm better than you. A. B. Ratman. Like, it's all summed up in Ratman.
Ratman. Like, you're not even a hot baron.
Yeah. And so then Anthony comes up and is like, you're going to marry that bitch. And Daphne runs off, understandably. And she's
you know what I hate the most about him? Is his smile.
I know.
Like, it looks like it's slimy.
Moist. He's a moist man.
He smiles like he's pissing himself. I don't know how else to say it. Like, every time he smiles, I'm like, are you fucking pissing yourself right now?
No, you fucking weirdo. God. It's like, and so Nigel comes out and finds Daphne and starts, and she says, go away, Nigel, which, like, you didn't really use first names until you knew the person really well. You never used their Christian name. It was either, for Daphne, it would be Miss Bridgerton. For Nigel, because his father had died and he has a title, he'd be Lord Burberk. Get out of here. Thank you.
So no matter what your Baron, Viscount, Duke, Lord, or it's Baron, Viscount.
Duke, it's from top to bottom.
Okay.
It's Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, and Baron.
But they were
titles of the parish.
All just called Lord or.
So once you had inherited your title.
Yes. But what I'm saying is you didn't refer to the Baron as Baron so-and-so.
Not really. The Barons and Viscounts, sometimes you would refer to them that way because Viscounts generally were Viscount their last name and Barons generally were Baron their last name, where Earls, Marquis, and Dukes were for Simon is a Duke, but he's Simon Bassett, Duke of Hastings.
And people would just call him Hastings.
And everybody, it was a very big thing with men.
Could you imagine
other men their title?
Could you imagine just being the Duke or in charge of a piece of land that didn't have a cool name? Imagine if I had to go up to a friend of mine and be like, "What's up, Poughkeepsie?"
Yeah, it's or being there's.
Were Dukes the only ones named after pieces of land?
No, it was across. It was
It just depended on the size of the land.
Yeah, so it was, Dukes had bigger plots of land, Marquis had slightly smaller, and Earls had slightly smaller from there. The biggest example is there was the Duke of Devonshire, who was, all over this big area, that Devon was in, but it wasn't just Devon. Then there was the Earl of Devon, who is just in Devon, England.
Gotcha, that's fucking confusing.
Yeah.
Either way, if I had to call a friend Poughkeepsie, I would probably not be their friend.
I know. And there are some bad ones. There are some really cool ones, but there are some bad ones. I'm gonna sneeze. Thank you. All right. I don't know why I said thank you.
Oh God! Imagine if I had to introduce you to my friend. This is my friend from college, Suffolk County.
Suffolk. And there is a Duke of Suffolk.
That's true. A lot of these names in America are just English names.
Especially because we're from New York, and
our tri-state area is part of the
But yeah, so he comes up, and because Daphne calls him Nigel and then says she will never marry him, he goes, "Time to rape you," which is a wild jump.
And listen, there should never be a jump where you go, "Time to rape you," but I feel this one of all the jumps, really.
And in the book, they make it very clear that he's incredibly drunk and that he probably wouldn't have done it if he hadn't been drunk. In the show, they don't make that clear.
No.
They just make him a bad guy.
The show made me legitimately go, "You would probably have done this regardless."
Yeah. Yeah.
You were as sober as I am.
And then we see Simon is just walking down the lane trying to escape the mamas. He hears Daphne yelling. He, does what every man of honor would do, goes off to save the damsel in distress, comes in as Daphne just decks Nigel. And she does a boxer's punch where it just boom and quick.
Yeah,
and
no. Sorry, the reason I started laughing because you said man of honor. And if you know me, you know my brand at this point. I jumped to sky high where I am remembering the fight scene where they tell the teacher, they go do something, and he goes and he runs in the other direction and get the principal.
Yeah. So she knocks Nigel out, and I love that her and Simon start having a conversation, and he's just casually checking if Nigel's alive. He's Nigel proposes.
He's
again.
"Will you marry me?" or "You will marry me?"
Daphne, marry me, while he's laying on the ground.
And Simon, and maybe I didn't actually see this, but I feel like Simon's leg was on top of him. One of his knees looked higher than the other. He was doing
I think it's how he was squatting.
Maybe he was doing a Captain Morgan pose from the way they shot him, and I was is his foot just on Nigel's head?
Hey, putting your foot on somebody's chest is a good way to make sure they don't get back up.
Yeah, But no, and then I loved his line of going, well, as far as proposals go, that's the least romantic.
Yeah, which is just very fun. And I also enjoyed that it is revealed that Nigel is not completely unconscious during this conversation, and they are just talking shit about him in front of him. Which
I thought was going to come back to bite them in the ass. I thought that What?
That doesn't come back to bite Simon in the ass. Other things Simon does to Nigel come back and bite him in the ass.
Yes, but what I mean was, I truly thought that Nigel was going to be like, I heard you guys plan this.
Yeah. Nah, he's not smart enough for that. Nigel's a dumb boy.
Yeah, rats aren't that smart.
Oh, sorry. I just got the process. Oh my god. I also like what you said last night when you were like, when they come up with this plan that to keep mothers and other women away from Simon, he's going to pretend to court Daphne to make Daphne more irresistible to men. He's going to court Daphne. And he says the line, men are always interested in a woman when he's with another man, and Jordan goes, not really, I just happen to pick them out like that, like a curse that borders on a mutant ability Charles Xavier would be jealous of. And I have to tell this story. So there's a bar in our hometown that Jordan and I used to go to called Mahoney's, and one night that we were at Mahoney's, every girl Jordan tried to hit on would be like, you're funny, my boyfriend would love you, and then pull a man out of somewhere. Adam just literally would just reach behind her and a man would appear.
And the problem was, we would keep an eye on them throughout the night. And this was not a friend or they were dating. They would be making out 5 minutes later. Like, it wasn't a situation where you would drag me and be like, just pretend to be my boyfriend until this guy leaves me alone.
Exactly. No, like, they were clearly
They all had boyfriends, like 5 in a row.
It was wild. It was every girl. It was very funny. But like I was explaining to you, at the time, back then, like, getting with a married woman or a woman that another man was already courting was like a status thing. It was like, and I'm better than you. Fuck off. Like, weird. It's the weird pissing contest that men were allowed to get into back then. I mean, the fireworks scene gives me chills.
It was
that
very
scene
cute.
where they come out to dance and all the fireworks are going off and all that stuff, and it's that beautiful. The song is called it's called We Could Form an Arrangement is what the composition is called.
An arrangement.
Beautiful. And that whole scene is so hot because Simon is just telling her how it is and like what to do, and like when they're on the dance floor and he's like, we must appear madly in love. I don't think they need to appear madly in love, but hearing him say it, drop my panties. Like, he's so hot. It's yeah, cool, whatever you want, my man, we will do it. And then it cuts to Anthony looking so tight. He's like just watching them dance, and it's so funny.
Yeah, like, your panties dropped, but his got tighter.
I know, the stick up his ass went a little further.
Like the Grinch's heart just grew 3 sides. I'm imagining this like the little X-ray where they show the Grinch's heart, but it's just a stick and like an ass, and it's just boop.
I like that we just made a super. God. So now we jump into episode 2, Shock and Delight. As most episodes, it opens with narration from Lady Whistledown, and then it gives us one of the most horrific birthing scenes I have ever seen in media. Holy fuck!
Like, god damn.
I'm
glad that I'm glad that you wrote the word horrific, because I almost wrote the word horrific when I texted you, but then I went, that seems fucked up as me for man to say, as if birth isn't always horrific.
This baby delivery scene is truly brutal. Like, imagine the tearing, like just the ripping, like stem to stern. Just she's
got one hole now.
But like, that's real, and that's
it's
so
a real
scary.
Thing.
And then, like, I'm not a doctor, but that is so much blood. When they cut to the sheet afterwards, when Simon's father is a fucking ass, this is where we learn that he is a good stretch twat of the highest order. Jordan said Mrs. Featherington, Lady Featherington, is a cunt at one point. I think it's Simon's father is worse.
I know Simon's dad. Like, I was like, I was trying to text her. I was like, do I call him a douche? Do I call him a? I was like, no, he's just straight up evil.
Up awful.
Like, you're just a bad man. Like, sure, she's a cunt, but you're just bad. And that's arguably worse.
He's showing off his little baby, like, Rafiki with a baby Simba, as his wife is just dying in the other room, and Lady Danbury runs in. And it cuts to the blood, and like, I'm not.
He's also getting drunk during all of this.
Yeah, they're like drinking and smoking cigars, which I know.
No, but like not in a celebratory way.
No, it's just what they do.
He was just like.
It's like when Lady Danbury says to Simon earlier, she's like, "Don't bring that flask in with you to the ball," because it's just like.
Oh, I thought they were showing that his dad specifically was like an alcoholic of like the highest level.
No, you just drank brandy all the time. Like at dinners, like if my family was hosting a dinner, like with some dancing, and we dance and then we go into dinner because there was something called the dinner dance, and whoever you dance the dinner
I had
dance
one of those in
with,
8th grade.
fun. Whoever you dance the dinner dance with would then escort you into dinner, and you would sit next to them. So it was a big thing that if you wanted to court a girl, you would get the dinner dance. So that
Or if
could
you
then
wanted to
spend
avoid
dinner.
someone, you had the dinner dance with someone that was like a friend or a cousin.
Someone completely different. Exactly. Yeah. And when you get escorted into, you go have dinner. Dinner's like 7 courses. And then...
Pause real quick.
Yes.
I am truly imagining like me and you being legitimate and engaged, but being like, can we just do the dinner dance together so we could sit next to each other and eat?
I just don't want to do
I just want to hang out.
Please,
I just want to hang out.
And after that, you would go with my father and the other men to his like
His
study or whatever, and you would play cards and smoke and drink brandy or port or like those kind of like liquors.
I mean,
the women would sit in the parlor, drink tea, and talk shit.
okay, see, so Arabs are a little bit different. After dinner, the men all fuck off to the living room and don't help with the dishes. They'll scream at each other about politics, and then one of the women bring us tea.
Fun. Yeah, no, in this it would go off. You smoke cigars, you play some cards, you drink some brandy.
I
Talk
mean,
about politics because
the world is not that
in
different
Parliament.
now. It's just replace cards with Call of Duty and replace brandy with cheap beer because I'm like 22.
Yeah. This is the other thing that I have to throw out there is after we see this delivery scene, it cuts to Simon in present day looking at his mother's old room where it's all the same furniture covered up with sheets because nobody's been staying there. And the maid is like, would you like us to set up your mother's room? Bitch, why the fuck would he sleep in his dead mother's bed, in the bed she died in? Like, why would he choose to do that? Like, come on.
And it's not like she's coming over. No,
Yeah.
nothing.
Like, she's dead. It's done. Like, what? Who would be going in there?
There's spooky ghosts in that room.
Yeah. I don't know why him... There's not much that Simon does that I'm like, ugh. But, like, I don't know why the idea of him, like, fucking a prostitute and then going to meet Daphne to promenade is, like, kind of gross to me, but it's, like, a little gross to me.
I'm not gonna comment on this.
And then he starts, that's when he says,
And I will
like,
text you
if
the
I
exact
wanted
reason
to-
why I'm not gonna comment on this.
Oh my god. I'm scared. I'm so scared. But it's kind of like on top of that too, like he then says that line to her where he's like, if I were truly courting you, I wouldn't need flowers. I would need 5 minutes alone in a drawing room with you. It's like, you just came from fucking prostitute. Stop talking to me.
Also, it's like, I know that this is fake, but it's like, maybe let's not be overtly sexual with the courting. I don't know. I feel like most girls wouldn't
Let's
be.
not be overtly sexual with the 18-year-old girl that doesn't know what sex is.
Yet it was a hotline. Like, I sent you a picture of a girl dropping her panties.
It's so hot. And Jordan, that scene part 2 is even better. He says so. He goes even further, and it's so, God, he's attractive. It's not fair. So then at this point, we haven't really talked about Eloise, but we'll talk about her a little bit more here. Where we now know that Marina is pregnant. Lady Featherington and her have had their like.
She fucking bitch slaps her into next week.
And then just leaves the room. Like, just whack, and then gone.
And it's like this weirdly weird, confusing feeling I have where I'm like, you're a cunt, but also like, man, you're just gonna slap her and leave. Like, kind of respect. Like, fuck you, but like, damn,
all right.
that's like gangster move. It's like, okay.
And then they're all in the drawing room. And Marina's not there,
You
but
sent
they're
me
all in
this
the
scene
drawing room.
last year, and it is even funnier now in context.
No, I'm first talking about the Featheringtons are all in there when she says that they can't. Penelope is like, but why can't I take up food to Marina? And she was like, because her condition is catching. Yes, you can catch a pregnancy from being in a room with a pregnant woman.
Hey, don't say it like that, okay? I took sex ed in Alabama, and I know for a fact.
You can get pregnant in a hot tub. You go in a hot tub, you can get pregnant without having sex.
Yeah. And you're just reading my text, aren't you?
I'm gonna... Yeah, but like, you could wash your hands.
I did.
He can't. That's gross.
Fair. I mean, he could. I don't know if he could or didn't. I feel like he had to have access to water somewhere.
And then what I also, yes, but it was like still water in a bowl that he would just dip his hands in and then wipe it off.
Oh, like in Shrek 2?
For me. Yeah. Just a little bit bigger than that. And so then Penelope goes to meet with Eloise. They're walking. Penelope is mind-boggled that Marina is pregnant when she's not married, so she's talking to Eloise about it. Penelope is just so sweet. She's just my small, sweet spring child.
Her and Eloise are very cute together.
I know.
Because like the way they link arms.
Yeah. Oh god. My skin's reactive and I keep grabbing my chest and now I'm getting fingerprints on my chest. Get out of here.
You're going to ruin yourself. People are going to see handprints on your chest.
If a man's fingers are this small, we got problems. You've met me in person. You know how small my baby hands are.
Yeah, guess what else might be that small if that's a man's hand?
My iPhone X is the same size of my hand. It is the exact same length of my hand.
X Max. Oh, it's your reflection. X Max. It's just reflective on both sides. I need a case.
Yeah. I have this one. But anyways, we get my favorite scene in all of Bridgerton, which is when Eloise makes the best entrance where she just bursts into the room and goes, "How does a woman come with child?" And Violet looks like she's about to hit the fucking ceiling. Daphne stops playing. Everybody looks at Eloise and she goes, "I thought marriage was a part of it, but apparently it's not even a requirement." And everybody, and Hyacinth, who is 8 years old, is in the room.
I also like how her reaction to Penelope isn't like, "I'm curious." She's like, "Find out how it happened so we make sure it doesn't fucking happen to us."
Well, because they don't know about sex, and they always thought it was just marriage, and now they're finding out that marriage isn't part of it.
When my sister was little, my mom told her that babies came from, like, if a woman is praised, God will just give her a baby. Like, my mom didn't, had no explanation, and so when Jamie Lynn Spears got pregnant and, they had to cancel Zoe 101, my sister's like, "I don't get why everyone's mad at her. It's not her fault."
Good Lord.
Yeah, I think my mom should have been like the whole, "You have to be married and pray."
Jamie Lynn Spears wasn't even married.
Yeah, I know, but then my sister would have realized something was wrong.
Yeah. And then Eloise walks over to her brothers, hits them both on the leg, and goes, I bet you know how it's done." And I just love Benedict going, "Do not look at me.
Don't look at me, just don't."
And then Colin, "Have you ever been on a farm, Eloise?"
And he smacks him.
And then I love that Violet turns around and is like, "I hope you guys," she's very calm, just basically being like, "Stop."
It's like her voice is calm, but yet it stings with each word.
She's angry, but she's like being, "I hope you're not entertaining inappropriate conversation." And then turns around and goes, "I have a headache, Daphne. Continue playing. You were playing so lovely."
Like anything to get me out of this.
And then Colin just stands up and is like, "We were just about to go pull our sticks out." And she becomes mom real fast and goes, "Colin Bridgerton." And every time I watch that scene, I'm like,
and then he goes,
sorry.
"A game of fencing." But here's the thing that confuses me. Eloise has younger brothers.
Eloise has Gregory as her only younger brother.
Yeah. Okay. So I assume she at least knows that men and women have different parts down there.
Yes.
And then
she just doesn't know.
Does she know that it involves those things, but she doesn't know the logistics?
No. Eloise realistically doesn't even really understand, this is going to sound bad, but it's the only way I can describe it. Doesn't even know realistically that, when you go to the bathroom, that's different than, how you have a baby. And, do you get what I'm saying while trying to keep the language clean for YouTube?
Yeah.
And that men just have a different way of relieving themselves is really all she's going to know, if she knows that they have a different part. Because some writings say that they didn't know until they were married. They found out about the existence of male genitalia on their wedding, which is just terrifying.
Wild.
I brought this up to you last night, but I'm going to say it again. I read something on Tumblr that was the Bridgerton children have 5 brain cells that they have to share between the 8 of them.
They're so rich, except for their.
All the time. Yeah.
I mean, listen, if I had less brain cells than I had siblings, I too would probably give one up. Like, I just don't want to have to think. You guys take them for the day.
And it's wild that Anthony just comes in and is like, "You're gonna marry him. I don't care."
It's like, hi, nice seeing you too.
What?
It's like, hi, nice to see you.
Yeah, hi, my man. How you doing? Get out of here. And then I like that Violet is like, Violet's like, I got you, boo. You're not fucking marrying Nigel. Like, that's not happening. I just don't like the way Anthony talks down to his mom. I'm like, stop talking. When he turns around and he's like, the Duke will never marry. It's not immaturity or like any of these other things that you said it was. He will never marry and never have kids. And it's like, don't talk down to your mother. Don't talk to your mother like that.
It's like, yeah, one, it is partially like, don't talk to your mother like that. But part of it is also like, oh, like, you're feeling the stress of having to now actually be the Lord, aren't you? Because, like, you imagine for, like, we said, what, it was 8 years ago his dad passed?
10 years ago.
10 years. Your sisters weren't getting married. Like, nobody was, like, you basically had the title and none of the work to do.
Exactly.
But now that it's...
You were 19, so you would have had to go to Parliament. That's all it would have been.
Yeah, and now that people, like, you actually have to take on, like, the more family responsibilities of this, it's like, now it's starting to get to you. You were not trained for this.
No, you are not trained for this, my man, at all.
King of Jordan became king when he was, like, 16.
Yeah. I'm like, you're not ready for that kind of responsibility at 16.
No. When I was 16, I was eating Easy Mac, maybe.
I was eating Easy Mac, maybe.
Like, if I didn't have food, it was like, maybe I'd make myself Easy Mac. I mean, granted, they have servants.
Now we get to, this is my favorite added plotline, which is Simon being friends with that boxer. That's not in the book. That character doesn't even exist in the book.
Does he box in the books?
No, they just added in. They wanted to make him a friend. I will also add his friend is hot. They're both hot. And a scene with both of them just shirtless hitting each other is made for, I am the audience for that. And then, again, Anthony comes in so hot all the time.
And he's like, should I come up there or will you come down here?
Do I have to come up there or are you going to come down here? Dude, you came in here without warning. Like, why are you acting like Simon is inconveniencing you? And, like, I get that there are men that don't want their friends being with their sisters because, like, they know what their friends did and, like, that kind of stuff. But, like, relax.
So, like, again, going back to what I said before, like, it's the curse of knowing everyone's dirt. But the thing is, everybody has dirt. Just because I don't know it, you know?
Doesn't mean they don't have it.
And honestly, you know, the devil you do know versus the devil you don't. I know all the dumb shit my friends have gotten into, but hypothetically, this suitor for my sister could have, like, you know, hookers in his basement or some shit. Like,
well, that's the thing too, is that, like, you also, in that situation, you know the line with your friends. Like, I know what my friends would and wouldn't do. I know where they wouldn't cross the line. You know what I mean? And, like, you don't know that with Nigel.
I do like to think I surprise you, though.
Sometimes you do surprise me. Also, okay, so then we get more of Simon's backstory with his fucked up father. Little Simon is so cute. I can't.
I know a boy that looks like that in real life, and it's adorable because I keep thinking it's him. His name is Mark. He's adorable.
Oh, and when his dad raises the hairbrush to hit him, and he turns around and goes, "No!" It's my favorite. I'm like, yes, stand up for yourself, you little 3-year-old, or however the fuck old you are.
It reminded me of Rugrats, Chucky's first word being no.
I know.
Because he didn't want his dad to marry that evil bitch.
Yeah. I just really enjoy that. Like,
here on Shared Screens, I only know the finest of art: Bridgerton, Sky High, and Rugrats.
Oh God. So we find out who Marina is pregnant by, which is all. It's a weird story.
So
also,
I'm confused. Did he go to church with her, or was he like the bishop's or like the pastor's son?
The vicar. Please don't make a Friends reference.
No, I'm not. I'm just like.
So the vicar was the priest.
Yeah, because they're all Protestant, correct?
Yes.
So the priests are allowed to be married.
Yeah, vicars are allowed to be married, have families, all that kind of stuff, have children. He's not related to the vicar. He's just like a dude who has a title.
It was also so funny when she's like, how did you get pregnant? And she goes, cake. And Penelope moves the slice away from her mouth.
Penelope's like, what?
She's like,
pardon?
What are they putting in this?
What is in this? Also, I grew up Roman Catholic. Masses were never more than when the priest is running on in Roman Catholicism, it means the mass is max going to be an hour and 15 minutes. I cannot imagine sitting through a 5-hour sermon.
5 hours is excessive, but like Orthodox sermons go on. We don't even call it sermons or mass. We call it oh man, I haven't been to church in so long. I forgot.
Would be so mad at you if she saw this and realized you don't remember the word.
Nope.
Your mother would be so mad at you.
Anyway, but like our services on average are a little bit longer, and then like Easter services are longer. Weddings, fun fact, weddings don't have a special service. You do kind of half a church service and then go into the wedding stuff.
I don't have energy for that. With it's a good thing. Like, this is one of those things where like I can't get mad when people call Roman Catholics lazy, because we do 45 minutes.
Okay, I did have it right. Liturgy is what we call mass.
Yeah. I cannot imagine sitting through a 2-hour sermon without dying.
Imagine how long like Easter is.
For who? For Catholics, it's 45 minutes.
See, all the special ones.
Across the board, unless you're going to midnight mass for Easter.
That's what I'm talking about. Midnight mass.
It's an hour and 15 max.
Okay, so ours is also extended. So keep in mind what I just told you. It's around being an hour and a half or so. It's already extended. And then one time we had like the bishop of like, or like all the Orthodox of New York, bishop, whatever, like a very, very high up. I think that service lasted 3 hours.
I can't do that.
I was an altar boy too, so it's not like I could even just like, take out my phone. Like I had like stuff to do.
I mean, would your mother have let you take out your phone if you were in the pews?
No, but like I could get away with it occasionally. My mom saw me taking pictures of the church once during service. She was like, "That's nice. Like you're gonna save these to the phone." Then saw that I was making memes and immediately got pissed off.
Yeah. No, Catholics, it's in and out. Like, it's all of our weddings. The only things that will be a little bit longer is obviously funeral masses, just because of eulogies.
Yeah.
But weddings, it's all the same structure. The priest comes in, he does the opening prayer, you have the first reading, you have a little like moment where you sing all that crap. You do the second reading, you do a whole little thing. Because that's like the whole thing is that like if you have family or friends that are close enough that you want them to be involved with the wedding, but not so close that they'd be in the wedding party, but you're having a Catholic mass wedding, it's always like make them a reader. And have them read the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and then you do the whole thing, you do the gospel, and then instead of a homily, you do the vows. And then you have communion and you dip, and we're done. And like, we're off to the reception.
And they got fucking to do.
Yeah, funerals, it's the exact same thing. It's just readings specified to death. There are some eulogies. We go to the cemetery. Regular mass, 45 minutes in and out. If it's a priest that likes to run a little long with the homilies, you might be there for an hour and 15 minutes. But for the most part, like you're in and out. It's 45 minutes. The longest is midnight mass, and midnight mass wouldn't even really be long if it wasn't for the whole. I don't know if they have this in Orthodox, but in Roman Catholicism, there's a whole thing where you set this huge fire and you light candles with it, and then you go in and light everybody's candles, and you do mass holding candles.
We do something similar where we don't light a huge fire. The priest has the first candle, lights it, and then from that one, everybody else's gets lit. We also do a whole thing.
They light like a holy fire, and then the priests come in with their lit candles. And
there's also a thing overseas in Palestine where the Orthodox priests go into a cave. No, sorry, not a cave, like a tomb, like the alleged tomb where Jesus was buried. And before they go in, this is actually pretty cool. They go in and are like searched by Catholic priests, Muslim imams, and Jewish rabbis to show that they have no matches, lighters, or anything on them. And when they come out, the candle is lit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Part of me is always like, I want to know what the science is here too.
Yeah. I also love this entire next scene with Lady Danbury and Simon, where it's that he's off in the summer home, like learning to read and write and all that other shit. And she comes in and is like, Comes in so hot, A. I mean, they all do, but like she comes storming in and is like, your mother would be furious that you didn't have any relationship with me. I thought you were dead. You know,
So does
Lady
she have a
Danbury.
title?
Yes. Her husband was Count, I think.
And is that below even
She's
a baron?
called Ladies. No, that's below Marquis, but above Viscount. So she is below Simon, but above the Bridgertons.
Gotcha.
And she comes in and is like, I'm Lady Danbury. She curtsies, does the whole thing she's supposed to. She looks at him like, bitch, you're gonna say something? Like,
And he just goes, sup. You could call me S.
He stutters. My sweet little boy. He's so cute trying to do like his whole intro. I want to hug him so bad. And then her whole monologue where she was like, I used to be terrified of my own shadow, and then I made myself the most. I think this is why I like Bridgerton so much, is it would be so easy to have all the women be fucking annoying and like be just these simpering women, and they don't. Like, they have attitudes and feelings and like like Daphne even talked about.
How dare they?
Like,
Feelings in 1813?
oh my god.
To the stocks
And
with you.
Daphne comes in and she's like, this is all I have. Like, this is
This is
I
the
don't know
one
my worth
thing
outside
I
of this.
basically get.
Yeah, like I don't get to do, like, even like the hobbies they get were to help find a husband, and your only options were embroidery, watercolors, or music.
I like how it's specifically watercolors. Like, you can't use
Yeah.
crayons or other paint or...
It was oil painted paintings were used by real artists, and real artists were hoes.
Yeah, they were. That's why I like them. That's why I went to art school.
God.
Listen,
And-
stereotypes suck, but sometimes they're true,
And she does that whole thing where she's like, I made myself the most ferocious creature in the room, and I'm like,
You can tell.
yes, you did. You did, my man.
Like, you've beaten
were
someone with that
awesome.
cane. And, like, they
Yeah.
deserved it.
Yeah. And so now, what's also wild is this is literally all in one day since she hit Nigel. The ball where Anthony finds out about her hitting Nigel is the next day,
Yes.
which is bananas. So much happens in this day. Again, I love Benedict because he doesn't have a plot yet, so he's just kind of there for comedic timing. When Anthony is like, go dance with your sister, and he's like, why? Because I said so. Ugh! Literally stomps off like a child.
Dancing with family's the worst.
I don't want to. And Berbrook comes running up. He's got the big black eye that nobody knows how he got it. He's claiming he was hit by a cabinet door, which is really funny.
My boyfriend said I should say I ran into a door. Like, dude, you couldn't come up with anything else?
It's also like, you're a man of status.
Why were you in a
What
why
cabinet
were
were
you opening a
opening?
cabinet?
Yeah, if it was to get dressed, your valet would be doing it, or to do any of your morning getting ready things, your valet
If anything,
would do
say
it.
you like fell off a horse.
Yeah. Or just go with, like, I feel like the cleanest one is I hit my head on, like, my nightstand. Like, I was closer to the edge of the bed than I thought I was. And
Yeah, I
just
was
hit my
drunk
head
and fell on my nightstand. At least that way people are like, this guy's a drunk. Good for him.
Sure. And he's just going Simon just standing there sipping his liquor, just being a sarcastic piece of shit is so funny.
I love it.
Like, I love Daphne for her beauty, her grace, her right hook. It's like, thank you.
The second he said her right hook, the way Anthony turned and was like, wait, bitch, what? Repeat that?
Yeah. What? What did you say? And I also love Anthony being like, that couldn't have happened. She would have told me. Would she? Because you've been acting like psycho for the past 3 days. Like, I don't know if she would, my man. Like, and just like the glass breaks over him and he's like, you never go near my sister again. And like, for a moment, Anthony's like kind of got some sense in his head.
Yeah. It's like he found the line, basically.
Also, I love how like thrown you were by the queen doing cocaine.
Yo, what?
Yeah. And that's accurate. Like, there were rules in Regency era England. There was what was called snuff box etiquette. And
Everybody was just doing coke.
Yeah, because all these people were just doing cocaine. And, like, because you could offer, like, if you were hanging out with, like, one of your friends, you could offer them Coke from your snuff box, but it would be incredibly rude for you to ask to have Coke from their snuff box.
So it's always like you have to be offered but not request.
Yes, you can use your own, or you can be offered.
Now,
And if
what
it's
is the
not,
etiquette about who is allowed to first take out the snuff box?
well, men are allowed to. Men were literally just doing Coke all the time. Like, you'd be, like, in a conversation with somebody playing cards at the club, and they.
But like, do I have to wait for somebody to be the first? It's kind of like when, it's like when you're in like the break room at work, and there's like a box of donuts. You're like, I don't want to be the first person to take a donut, like that, but with cocaine.
Yeah, no. You could just pull it out.
And then the queen, she's the fucking queen, so it doesn't matter her gender. She will do all the cocaine she wants.
Off of a gold spoon.
Which, honestly, respect.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little earlier, but I didn't want to forget to talk about the cocaine, because it's just very funny to me. I also like when Nigel... this is the moment where Nigel goes from just being, like, kind of a loser to a bad guy when he's following Simon through that tunnel.
It's like, dude, look at you and look at him. Now look at you.
Yeah, look at you. Please look at the man you are antagonizing before you antagonize him. Like, what are you doing? And then when Simon's like, you don't care about how Daphne feels about the union? Like,
and he goes, if I'm buying a horse, I don't negotiate with the horse.
And it's like, whoa! Like, I know that's how men thought back then, but like,
yeah.
Damn.
It's like, wow.
And then that doesn't work, and he insults Daphne's, like, he basically is like, oh, unless you fucked her first, because I don't want her if she's already had sex with you. Like, Simon's like, Simon turns around, and it is so attractive when he's like, you do not speak of her again, pushes him into the wall.
Because you do not even deserve to breathe the same air as her.
And he just pushes her into the wall, and it's like, ooh.
He could have murdered him in that scene. I would have been like, do it.
Murdered him.
I think he should have.
It's not worth having to leave the country so that you don't get arrested.
Well, they do like DNA testing back then. You just leave him bloodied and leave. They're gonna find out.
Just leave him on the ground.
Just leave him on the ground. Someone's gonna wake up in the morning and be like, oh my god, Rat Man died. And they're gonna be like, do we have any way of figuring out who did this? No.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. Let's bury the Rat Man. With some cheese.
And so now we get into like kind of the climax of this episode. They're at that picnic and I believe it's Hyde Park. Really quick, this is a moment where Benedict reminds me of you a little bit, because everybody's like playing games, they're all doing stuff, and it pans over and Benedict's just leaning back in a chair, just eating snacks.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there eating snacks.
Park snacks be good.
Yeah. Like,
Benedict has the energy of like they haven't invented like electronics yet, so I'm just gonna sit here and eat.
I just don't really know what to do with myself right now.
Yeah. Oh my god, if you showed him a Game Boy, he'd die.
I know. Also, listen, I love Eloise, don't get me wrong, but this scene in the park where she runs off to talk to Penelope, and Penelope's like, I wouldn't be too worried about the maid, the father's saying that he's gonna come back and marry her, and Eloise is like, how is that saving her? What do you mean? Like, honey, I get that you don't want to get married and that you see it as a trap right now, and that's fine. You're young, like whatever.
But she also has to understand what is at risk for a woman who's getting
exactly
who gets
like,
married.
You need to understand, like, and I get later on.
In her head, she's also going, well, it's a maid. So at the end of the day, is their life that good? Which is just some classism. That's the
other thing too. But it was very hard in Downton Abbey. There's a whole plot line where a maid fucks a soldier and the soldier refuses to acknowledge the kid. And so now she's a maid making no money and has this kid, and the guy refuses to see it as legitimate and won't help her in any way. And it's awful. It's like, honey, come on.
I also liked when Penelope was like, Mother, can I go play with Eloise? And she was like, ladies your age don't play. And it's like, nobody invented the word hangout yet. She's still basically a child. Just
let her go, please.
It's play. It's like, fine, can we go, would she say find potential suitors?
Yes, go find potential suitors.
Yeah.
Like, just let her leave. Like, let her go. She doesn't want it's fine. Everything's fine. I also love Simon, like, when Simon shows up and him and Daphne start promenading. And, Daphne going, button my cuff. She does not realize how sexual that moment is and how intimate that moment of him like buttoning her dress to her gloves is. But I love him going, if I had to take a wife, you'd be the least objectionable. And she's like, thanks. Thanks so much. That's such high praise. And he's like, it is high praise coming from me. And it's like, someone thinks very highly of himself. You what? Like, did you ever think I don't want to marry
like,
you?
imagine posting that review
that?
on like Ye Olde Tinder. Like, I was told that if somebody was forced to pick a wife, I would be the least objectionable.
Have you seen this thing on TikTok where there are girls that are putting together this app that you can download that you can, it takes Hinge profiles of men and you can look them up and leave reviews of what the date with that guy were like on Hinge.
Yeah, that's horrible.
It's awful. It's so bad.
You heard, I told you about the West Elm Caleb thing.
Yeah, the West Elm Caleb thing was being used to promote this app of like,
no,
like,
that's horrible. And like, listen, I get that people want to know, especially if somebody's a horrible person and like put somebody at danger or like assaulted them. But at the problem is you're going to have people that are like, he didn't call me back, which is the thing. Like, that's the thing that happened with the West Elm Caleb.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful.
Truly my nightmare.
Yeah. And then Rat Man has to make an appearance and make everything worse.
Now he's purple Rat Man.
He's purple because Simon beat the shit out of him. And I love when Daphne is like, what did you do? Like, she sees him, sees his face, and immediately turns to Simon and is like, what did you do? Like, what did you just do? And fuck Nigel that he's like, I got a special license. It's like,
the fuck does that mean?
It's okay. So there was a thing when you were getting married back then where you had to call the bands, which was like some sort of announcement that you guys were planning on getting married, and engagements were supposed to last at least 3 months. But you could get a special license, which was meant for people who were like going to war, or like, you fucked a chick and now she's pregnant and you have to get married before she starts showing. Or in some cases you're just in love and the bishop has to sign off on it and give you special permission to get married.
Upper society, within, like, 2 weeks. They would give it to anyone?
Well, you paid a certain amount of money and like basically told a lie, and they would allow you to get married within 2 weeks or sooner, so that way you could get married. Like if you proposed on a Monday and you got a special license, you could get married that Saturday.
Hell yeah, let's get hitched.
And Nigel just like, and this is why you can never underestimate the moist men. You can never underestimate the moist men.
I hate that expression. And I don't hate the word moist like other people do, but I hate that expression.
You can never underestimate the moist men because when you underestimate them is when they fuck you.
They're moist for a reason, and it's because they're slimy.
They need to slither like a snake. He comes in and is like, this is my plan and I'm gonna fucking ruin you if you don't. And like at a certain point, you're a dude. At a certain point, don't you want to give up on a chick if this chick is clearly not into you? Like at a certain point, isn't your pride like, fuck, I'm gonna go find there is somebody that wants just money.
Some people are into rat men, you know. I don't kink shame here.
There's somebody for everybody. Ted Bundy got married. A rat man can find love. Like, you know. And I love that Simon, good stretch, gets so mad and is about to hit him again in public, and Benedict just grabs him by the collar and goes, no. And he's like, you cannot make this worse. So yeah, it looks like Daphne's gonna get stuck in this marriage, and we're in the carriage, and it's just a close-up on Daphne, and in the background you just hear Anthony and Violet fighting about whether or not Anthony should call out.
And you know what? I honestly thought that was going to be part of the plot, too.
No. He suggests duels many times, though.
I kind of don't fault this one. Like, I see how that, like, if I found out that somebody was like, not only am I going to force your sister to marry me, I will go around town telling people that she is a whore, which back then basically meant, like, you might as well become a nun at this point because no one's going to take you.
And it would mean that Eloise and Hyacinth would never be able to get married. Like,
exactly. Like there's so much at stake that part of me is like, killing him isn't not the best option. Like it's.
But then he would have to leave. Like then Anthony would either.
That's the other thing. I also think that's part of it. I also think part of him's like, yes, then I get to get.
Well, that's the other thing, and Violet knows that, and that's why Violet's like, fuck off, like stop, like because it's all Anthony's fault. And so Anthony, very clearly this entire time, has wanted to kind of shirk his responsibilities, even though he won't admit it. And so it's kind of, if I was a mother, I'd be kind of pissed too, where it's like, okay, so you did this.
You told him you can marry her. You caused
this because you went behind her back and told him he could marry her. And now you found out that he almost raped her, so you were like, never mind, and you tried to back it up. and now he's threatening us with this piece of information, and you want to fix it by calling him out to a duel, which is illegal. So either he will shoot you dead, you will take part in a duel and get in big trouble, or you will shoot him dead and have to leave the continent, and everything's going to fall to your brother. And that's just kind of not fair. Like, you don't get to...
Like the best case scenario would have been, what, they both shoot wide.
They both shoot wide, and they both get in trouble for...
But, like, they pay, like, a minor fine, but they don't get, like, charged with murder.
Yeah, but at that point, like, what good does that do?
Because he would still then... He would then go, I'm still marrying her.
Yeah. So, like, you can't shoot wide because it doesn't fix anything. And, like, that's what's so bananas about the duels, is, like... And like I said, he suggests it a lot, and there is more conversation about this later on, but it's just like, it's just very like, you don't get to get out that easy. You don't get to get everything you want by ruining your sister's life.
Yes.
Like, you don't get to do that.
And I get that, but I also do look at the situation and go, killing him isn't not the wrong answer.
Yes, but that's because you're a man. It's because you're a man. Like... I could see you being a dude where you'd be like, I'm going to call him out, and all the rest of us have to be like, no, you're not.
But, like, this is the one time where that card makes a lot of sense.
And it's like, it does, but the consequences don't necessarily warrant the action.
Okay, then what if we kill him without a duel? What if we just sneak into it? Just, you know. What if we get a giant piece of wood, right? And then a lever, and then a piece of cheese.
How do you catch a rat? With cheese. Cheese. Or you go with your mother's plan, because Violet had a plan.
Violet
was ready.
Made me like, in this house we stand Violet Bridgerton level
literally,
of
like, incredibly well coordinated.
Genius.
It's kind of impressive. Like, damn.
Like, part of me's like, I want to tell my mom about the show and this plan just so my mom can, like, acknowledge the badassness. But part of me's like, I don't want to give my mom any ideas.
Game recognizes fucking game. That literally the queen just says to her, you know, that my butler's very chatty. And
I love that when the queen was like, I'm going to tell you a story about Mozart. Turns to butler and goes, wait, get us this. Then she goes, listen, this is all going to be a metaphor, but if he hears any of this, everyone's going to know. She comes back in and then continues to tell the story about Mozart.
I know, I love it so much. This is not for you, Cleo.
But she's basically saying, she's like, I want her to marry the Duke. Right, that's
yes. Which was a thing with Queen Charlotte and some of the queens, where like they were bored, they didn't really have anything to do, so they would matchmake the people in their circle. And a duke, that's the highest level of peerage you can have. That's the closest to the king.
And so if somebody's saying I want you to marry the duke, she's basically saying, I want your family to end up
in this position.
Because
it's
like
huge.
I get that, like Anthony being that of the household. You said they were what, Viscounts?
Viscount.
It's not going to bump Anthony up to Viscount, but wouldn't he then be known as like, well, the Bridgerton house is related to a Duke house?
Yes, exactly. So it would have been that like they're now. It's the same.
It wouldn't literally bump him up by name, by like title, but it would be like.
But he has an ally who has a much higher title, and for Eloise and Hyacinth,
they would basically get dukes.
And Francesca, it's good for them when they come out because their sister married a duke. So,
and that's almost like, we are now only expect dukes. And then for the rest of time, the House of Bridgerton and the House of Bassett?
Bassett, yep. That's
will basically be allies.
Exactly. And they haven't.
Imagine being in World War I and like your closest political ally is your closest political ally because like your great-great-great-grandmother banged his great-great-grandfather. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wild. And it was like, it would be these big threads because, so Violet's, I don't remember Violet's maiden name anymore, but they're united with her family because I think she was the daughter of an earl. So they're united with that family, and now she marries into the
Would it also look better for Anthony? Like Anthony could get like the daughter of a duke?
Yeah, it was basically saying that Anthony made a really, really illustrious match, and Anthony did a really good job. Like, men would get, like, your father, if your oldest sister married a duke, your father would get a lot of credit for having made that happen.
And then I'd get the daughter of a duke.
You could get a higher level woman, yes.
I like them trashy.
And it's just so well coordinated that she sees that and is like, oh, and her and the maid are like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna invite this, and she doesn't tell anybody. She's just like, trust me.
She's just like, well, she's kind of like playing it off as like, this is the formalities. We're not gonna marry.
This is what we have to do.
Like realistically, even if they were okay with her marrying Nigel, they would invite the mother-in-law over for tea. Like that just seems
exactly. And then, of course, the maid is going to be down having tea with the other maids because that's what they did. And so they're down there, and they're obviously going to gossip, and it's just so goddamn clever. It's so clever. And it's like, and she doesn't even have to say, I told you so to Anthony. She just gets to sit there and watch it all happen.
She just gets to go there and embroider her tulips.
Yep. Look at the tulips. Look at me, bitch.
Look at these tulips. Oh, now look at this.
You want to say you're the head of the family? You want to say you're the head of the family? I just showed you who the fuck is head of the family.
No, it's what they say in My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Yes, the man is the head of the household, but the woman is the neck and can turn the head any way they want.
Yes.
I love that fucking quote.
So, we cut to the very last ball of this episode. They have a champagne fountain in the middle of the floor, and I don't know why I was like, hell yeah, that's fun.
Part of me was like, what if somebody bumps into that?
Yeah, that's awful, but, and we get the string cover of
Girls Like You Come Around with Guys
Girls Like You
like
and
me.
In My Blood. And we're a couple episodes away from the string cover of Bad Guy that's really good. It's so good.
I'm not gonna lie, I was listening to the string covers in the shower today. Disappointed to only find out there's 5 in the entire season.
The string cover of Wildest Dreams is really cool too. But when he says we can continue our arrangement and all of this stuff because you still need it. But it's on one condition: call me Simon. And the music that plays there is.
And then he moves his hand from like in a like up her back, and it's like now on skin on skin, and it's like, ooh.
Which is like a whole scandalous thing, like touching bare. That's why men and women tended to wear gloves, is because you weren't allowed to touch bare skin.
Like my panties got wet, and I have neither panties nor the ability to get wet.
Oh God! And then Simon getting jealous when the other man comes up and asks her to dance, and Simon's like everybody knows that Simon loves Daphne before Simon does. Simon is the last to find out, which is hilarious because it is his mind.
I love situations like that.
And then it ends on just the best note where
and then
father,
when I saw this flashback, I was like, oh, I remember you telling me so much about this character.
Yeah. I love the flashback to his father dying because the noises his father is making are so fucking funny.
Like it sounds like it sounds like it took a pufferfish out of its tank.
So funny. And then Simon comes back and his dad's like, oh yes, my boy has returned.
He grew up and he's like, look at you, you're hot now.
You're hot and you can speak with this sexy voice. Like, hell yeah. But also, I have to say, how exhausting it has to be to both be Simon's father and care that much about the title staying in your direct bloodline, and also be Simon and care so much about how shitty your dad was. Like, why do you care so much?
It's one of those things where it's like,
especially once he's dead. Like, why are you?
That's the thing. It's like, listen, man, he died.
Oh no, my headphone. Oh no, my earring. Oh no, hang on.
Hi there, listeners. I'm just going to not continue to say what I was going to say until LeighErin can hear me.
Wait. Sorry.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I think she has her headphone in now. She has her headphone in now. Okay.
Sorry, my earring got stuck in my headphone, so I wanted to take it out, and then in the process, it, like, ripped my headphone out of my ear.
I get why Simon was like, I want to torture you and let you know that it dies. But the man died thinking that? So, like, if you lie to him now, like,
we're good. You don't need to keep
if his dad was still alive and he had made that vow, I would kind of understand him more.
Yeah, but his dad's dead.
But his dad is dead.
And even then, at a certain point, if you're in love, like, at what point do you love that person more than you care about tweaking your father, you know? However, him also going, speak, you fucking monster, was like, ooh.
Yeah, ooh. I was like, oh, you've been waiting for this moment.
I had a fan. Like, it's just so fun. This show and Simon turns me into Blanche from Golden Girls, where I'm just like, ooh.
Flirting's in your heritage.
Yeah,
Her mother was a slut too. It's like the one line exchange from Golden Girls that I know, and I love it.
Yeah. So, yeah, tell me, that's kind of the rundown of the episodes and our basic reactions. How do you feel going into episode 3?
I feel like a bad bitch. I don't know how else to say it.
I knew you would really like this show and that there were things you were really going to relate to, and I'm excited that we're doing this.
Yeah, I feel like a bad bitch, and part of me's like, maybe it's time for me to settle down.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding when I say that. But it's like, well, I told you yesterday that I was going to tell this story here. So it's like the ball stuff is hitting a little bit too close to home. And now one of the things I hate about the ball stuff is like how everybody knows that it's about marriage. Like when a lot of the traditions that we do in my culture, it's like everybody knows sometimes some of the things are about marriage, but it's not being said aloud. And I feel like when you say it out loud, it gets way more awkward. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I have a family friend who is engaged or getting engaged at the end. And at the end of the month, he has a thing. So I'm going to tell you a little something about Arab weddings.
I'm ready.
A lot of the
You wouldn't tell me this last night because you wanted to get my live reaction. You said
Yes.
there was an event, and I'm excited.
So a lot of Arab wedding traditions are basically recreations of old-timey things. And when I say that, what I mean is there is a thing that you basically end up doing 3 times where the father asks the other father for the daughter's hand in marriage. Mm-hmm. And that's the event I'm going to at the end of the month for this family friend of mine. And what they do is this family friend of mine, I'm going to text you who he is to me, but I'm not going to put anybody's business out there on this podcast. He is a very highly respected person.
Okay.
And
what's the event? While you're texting me, like, what's the event?
So the
like,
event is the father of the groom is going to the wife's house and basically going to ask for her hand in marriage for her son. Now, these people are basically already engaged. Like, they're already starting the wedding planning stuff on the side. This is all just a formality. But what they do is they also come with, like, a squad of, like, other respectable gentlemen. And they basically do this 3 times because they do it before. They do it at the engagement party.
Are you his eligible bachelor?
No. Because keep in mind, the dad is doing it. So that dad invited my father and other members that we know. I'll give you an example. Freshman year of college, I got dragged down into an engagement party in Yonkers for, like, my mom's second cousin's son. Like, yeah, try to map that out on a family tree. But the reason why we were invited is because the oldest living relative to this person was my mom's dad, my grandfather.
Okay.
And so my grandfather had to be the one who spoke, and he sat down and basically goes, with me is A, and he is a doctor or something, and B, and he is blah, blah, blah. And it's showing, like, and they all are telling you that this groom is a person that you should accept or want your daughter to marry. And they do this 3 times throughout the wedding process because they'll do it again at the engagement party, and they'll do it the morning of the wedding, which is truly a formality because they're not going to say no.
What happens if they do?
They don't. They don't. That's the thing. They don't. But, like, and now what's interesting is I've been on both sides because when my uncles got married and I was a kid, I would tag along to the, basically what it is you wake up in the morning, groom starts getting ready, bride starts getting ready, her family comes and sees her, groom's family comes and sees him, there's a little party in the house, and then everybody that's friends with the groom, but not the groom himself and the groomsmen, leave and then go to the bride's house and ask. And so when I was a kid, because my grandfather was one of the people who would be going to ask again, it's just a formality, I would get dragged there and, like, see, like, the people that he would present. And fun fact is my parents met because my grandfathers were very good friends. So my grandfather would always ask my other grandfather to come with him to this, which I always found, like, was cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, and
Can you vouch for this dude?
I don't have to personally vouch. Again, this is all the adult thing.
You just have to go. But
I just have to go. But the other thing is, the reason why these balls things are sitting so close to home is because, like, her friends are going to be there. And my mom's like, maybe she'll have a friend you can meet. And like
This is your marriage, Mart. This is your marriage.
my mom started saying it jokingly, and throughout the past few weeks, it has evolved into, "You're finding someone there, right?"
You're gonna find a white there, right? I can start planning.
And it's like, I don't know, man. I'm gonna eat some hors d'oeuvres.
I'm just gonna be there and hiding from every single woman in the room. Oh God, I love it so much. That's gonna be that's bananas.
You've told me you wanted to know what our wedding traditions are.
Yeah, well, because it's just, I don't know, like,
But
I don't
again,
know if it's a me thing, like, you know this, I have a really small family, so we don't have, like, huge, like, wedding things that we do, or any, like, big cultural things, so, like, I'm always...
And again, like, the women have all the choice. This is truly a tradition where you are replicating the old act.
Yeah, it's like when anybody's, like, asks their father for their hand, is like, no one, if the dad says no, like, nobody's actually...
No one's actually stopping you, but I've always found that, like... That one I've always found like a little bit more realistic than the shit my family and culture does. Because I do understand, you know, you do want to know going into a proposal that like her family likes me.
Yeah. And like, but here's the thing, if you're getting ready to propose, I feel like you know at this point whether or not the family likes you. I don't know. It's just like the thing I always think of is my dad when my sister was getting engaged, like her now husband, at the time boyfriend, wanted to ask my father for permission, and my dad was like, why? Like,
see, permission's a weird...
I remember him asking and my dad being like, sure?
Permission's... Yeah, I don't like the word permission. I prefer the word blessing.
Still.
But you get what I mean?
Even then, my dad was like... Because I made that joke where I was like, oh, he's asking because he wants your blessing. And my dad was like...
Yeah, but how would your dad have reacted if, like, some scumbag he hated proposed to your sister?
I don't think it would have gotten to that point. We're just such a tight family that, like...
He would have told her from the get-go, like, no.
Yeah, you know my family. Like, we don't sugarcoat things.
Well, again, and that's the thing, is, like, families in my culture are very, very much like that, too, where, like, there's, again, they're technically already engaged. Like, everyone's agreed to this. This is truly just a formality. And especially with who I told you this father is, it is a big deal.
I don't know. It's just like because of the type of person my dad is, and this is obviously no shade to anyone in your culture or your own family. It's just very funny to me in my own situation.
I'm in it, and I can see like this is fucking bonkers. So I can only imagine you looking from the outside being like,
if you don't grow up in it, it's wild. But it, like that's the same thing with anything. Like if you explain anything, it seems crazy if you've never heard it. But it's like one of those things where with this, where I can kind of predict, like because of the type of person my father is, I can kind of predict that if my dad had a title in like the early 1800s, I'd probably be set because he wouldn't make me marry somebody I don't want to marry. If I was having trouble finding a husband, he probably would just go make a deal with an old friend. And like if I had somebody I was into, he'd be like, you and your mother like figure it out, and like once you're ready, he can come to me and we'll get it all set up. Like we'll be all good.
Yeah.
But we will get further into all of this. This week was very much establishing glitch to rich and establishing the theme and the show. As we get into next week, we'll get into even more scandal and nitty gritty when we revisit episodes 3 and 4 in our Tea Time recap. Be sure to follow us at your screens on all our social media. You can follow Jordan and I. If you want a similar podcast, but about the MCU, Jordan and I also do a podcast with one of our other friends, Victoria, called Marvel School for Dummies. There are tons of episodes of that. There's so many.
One for each movie and multiple for each show.
And we've been through the Infinity Saga and are up to recording Hawkeye podcast now. So
you have at least 30 podcasts to get through.
Exactly. But we will be back next week with the new scandals that the Bridgertons, Bassetts, Brooks, and Featheringtons get into, reporting like our lovely Lady Whistledown. So stay with us, and we will see you next week for tea. Bye.
Bye-bye.